questions to the brain, going out in style.
Hey everybody, tonight we're debating, does science lead to Krishna? And we're starting right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for another epic night. Tonight, we are debating, as mentioned, does science lead to Krishna? And it's going to be a fun one. Want to let you know up front, though, folks, if it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button, as we have many more juicy, controversial debates coming up. For example, at the bottom right of your screen, folks, I'm amazed, we have 9 days left. I looked at the Kickstarter today. We have 9 days left. Basically, the goal right now is, at the bottom right of your screen, you will see Inspiring Philosophy and Dr. Michael Shermer will be debating whether or not Christianity is dangerous on January 8th, which is the Kickstarter for this event is closing in 9 days. You might be wondering, well, what's the Kickstarter? Well, for this unique debate, what we are learning is that as we grow as a channel, we want to have bigger speakers. However, oftentimes these speakers have bigger honorariums that we want to send to the speakers to have them come on the show. Now, the trick is, sometimes these are a little bit bigger than we are able to risk at Modern Day Debate. And so what we have done for this is, if you would like to watch this epic debate live, all you have to do is pledge $3 at the Kickstarter, folks. So I'm showing you on the screen right now. The Kickstarter is linked in the description for this video. And as mentioned, it's only $3 to watch it live, and that actually helps make sure it actually happens, because we have to meet our goal for the actual debate to happen. The debate will be posted afterward for the whole world to see. However, as mentioned, if not enough people jump into the Kickstarter and joining us, the debate won't happen at all. And so it's absolutely essential. Highly encourage you folks, if you think, $3, it's like the price of a cup of coffee. If you think that that would be worth it, you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, like $3 for 2 hours of entertainment, it can be worth it. I'd highly consider you to go to that link in the description for our Kickstarter. And if you don't have a Kickstarter account, you're like, I don't want to make a Kickstarter. James, for $3, like for $3 is a waste of time. I don't want to make an account. Got good news. You can bypass the creating an account altogether by signing into Kickstarter with your Facebook account. All right, very excited. What we're going to do for tonight, want to let you know a few things up front before the debate officially starts. First, all of our guests are linked in the description. That's at the very top of the description box. You can click on the links of all of our guests. We are thrilled to have them. And so there's plenty more where this came from tonight. Also want to let you know for the format, it's going to be flexible, so about 15 minutes for each team to make their case. How they divide up their time is up to them, and then after that, we'll have open discussion for about 60 minutes and then Q&A for about 30 minutes. So if you happen to have a question, feel free to fire it into the old live chat. If you tag me with @ModernDayDebate, makes it easier for me to get every question in that list. Also, Super Chat is an option. So if you'd like, you can fire a Super Chat in, and also basically gives you not only the ability to ask a question, but to make a comment toward one of the speakers that they, of course, would get a chance to respond to. So with that, very excited to get into this. Want to welcome our guests. So we will start going left to right. Want to say thanks so much, Sidharth and Noah, for joining us. We're thrilled to have you with us. If you can let people know what they can expect to find at the links in the description, we're very glad to have you guys here.
The first link under my name is a link to our website, which has the book from which I will be speaking about, my research, and a link to a scholarly paper And if anybody wants to hear more about our work, and the second link is to our YouTube channel, which is under Noah's name, which links to our videos which discuss our research.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. We really are happy to have you guys here. And we're also happy to have TJump and Jim Majors back again. Thrilled to have you, gentlemen. Can you let people know what they can expect to find at your links in the description?
You can find, I don't know what link he has, but probably some videos.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. That's an epic opening. And with that, yes, their links, both Tom and Jim's, are in the description as well. So with that, folks, very excited to get the ball rolling. I forgot to ask, forgive me, folks, if we already covered this in the email, I forgot. Which team would like to go first?
The pros, I believe.
Absolutely. That makes, yep. The affirmative usually goes first, so the floor is all yours, Sidharth and Noah. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So our claim is, as the title of the video says, science leads to Krishna. So as our premise, it's important that we establish first what exactly we're talking about with the Puranas, because the Puranas are going to be our main source of knowledge that we're drawing from, and the main thing we're discussing as far as, what our source of knowledge. So in the Puranas, if you know, some people might know about the Puranas, some people might not, but the Puranas are a wide body of knowledge that deal with very many different topics, but mainly and specifically, they're specifically meant to deal with things that human beings can not perceive through their blunt senses. The purpose of the Puranas is to help us get insight into what is beyond our three-dimensional sensory world. So that is what the Puranas are. And so our claim is, as I said, science leads to Krishna, and our evidence to support that, which we'll get into in detail, and there's a little bit of a logical chain that we have to follow to explain things clearly. But basically, the Puranic dates have shown by our research to line up profoundly with modern scientific dates of some very significant events, and showing a really striking convergence between modern science, the truth of modern science, and the truth of the Puranas. So the main three data points that we'd like to discuss, and we'll get more into detail. Siddha will take over and he'll give more detail on these events. But the age of the universe is described by modern science, maybe some of you know, as 13.801 billion years. Now, the Puranas describe the age of the universe at 13.819 billion years. So that's a 0.1% difference. So that is a very interesting discovery there. Secondly, we have the age of the solar system, or the age of the sun, at 4.567 billion years for modern science. And according to the Puranas, we have 4.563 billion years. So again, a 0.1% difference, which anybody would have to admit, if they look at the numbers, it's quite astounding. And third, we have the date of Earth's greatest mass extinction, which according to modern science took place 251.9 million years ago. And the Puranas say that that event took place 251.2 million years ago. So that's a 0.3% difference. Again, insignificant, and definitely something that should catch somebody's attention who is looking into these dates. So, which according to modern, what we're getting at with all of this is that because of the accuracy of these dates, there should be sufficient credence lended to the Puranas to reinvestigate them and to reinvestigate the standard perception of the Puranas, which came about by British, oppressive British invasion of India, that the Puranas are all mythology, but that there should be a reconsiderance of that label, of that categorization of the Puranas, and that we should reinvestigate the processes given in the Puranas, which offer solutions to things like world peace, harmony in the world, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and how to attain a higher level of happiness. And most interestingly, of course, how to realize spiritual truths. Most importantly, how to realize if God actually exists and who that is and what that means. And so the credence should be earned by these findings. So that's our general case there. And Sid is going to break it down a little bit for us here, the exact how those dates come about.
Thank you, Noah. So before I begin, I would like to share my screen, which seems to be disabled. Can you allow me to share my screen? It says it's disabled. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Gotcha. Let's see. Let me work on that, guys. We just renewed our Zoom account, and so it'll take me 1 second while I look for our. Sorry about that, guys. While I look for that, I want to mention, folks, that all of our guests are linked in the description. I've just got to quick remember how it is that I enable advanced sharing options. All participants. All right, should be good to go. Thanks for your patience.
Okay, so before I begin, 1 second. Let's see when first one check if it works. Okay. Okay, so thank you guys. I really appreciate James for putting us here and tolerating us, and thank you, Jump, tolerating us one more time. So before I begin, I want to share a quick story, how I got to this research. I'm particularly, interested in data sciences, computer scientist by training. And I was, trained in Sanskrit too, thanks to my upbringing in India. So while studying these Puranas, which I came to know after coming to US, so like somehow in India, I never heard about them, never studied them. And that's thanks to Britishers. They came and gave us a lot of gifts. One of the gifts was that they told us these Puranas are myths. There's no need to spend any time on studying them. So I was studying the Puranas and I found that a number of dates which are given in the Puranas seem to correlate with modern science. And that was my initial hint. And then from that point onwards, I just took all my training in data science and went straight into it. And day after day, month after month, I found amazing things. And that's why I wrote my book and wrote scholarly papers on this topic. So I'm going to give you a brief background so you can appreciate how the Puranic chronology works. So first of all, before we jump into chronology, what does Puranas say? As my friend said, their intention is to give us knowledge about the world which is beyond our sensory perception. According to the Puranas, there are 14 different worlds. In these 14 different worlds, we are in the middle level, and there's 7 levels above and 7 levels below. And in each of these levels, time goes at different speeds, at different pace. I guess that's modern science makes that there can be regions where time goes at different pace. So based upon how the time goes at different pace, the person the topmost, Brahma, for him the time goes the slowest. And a day on his planet is tremendously long compared to a day on, say, the middle level planet or region, the Bhuloka or Bhumandala. So time is moving at different speeds, a different level. So these are the different units, as you can see in the table, which are accepted by all scholars uniformly across the board currently. If you look up on Wikipedia, these are the time units which you will find on Wikipedia or any popular article. What are the units? Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga. These are the first basic units, and then they make the other units. Now, how does it work? Let me show the diagram. Not this one. Okay. So a Kali Yuga is the smallest one, then a Treta Yuga, then Dwapar and Satya Yuga. They combine to make a Chatur Yuga. 71 of the Chatur Yugas make a Manvantra, and 14 of the Manvantras make a Kalpa. That's it. No more very tough words. I know Jim is already feeling tough. It's very tough stuff. I can see a cool thing on his head, but it's not that tough. Believe me. Those are the only tough concepts. So Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga, they combine and they make a Chatur Yuga. 71 of Chaturyugas make a Manvantara, 14 of the Manvantras make a Kalpa. And there's one final unit there called Manvantara Sandhya, which is a transition period between each of the Manvantras. So these time units are known to scholars. You can look up online. That's their conversion factors into million years. I personally did some research and found out that Sridhar Swami, a 13th century sage who wrote commentary on the Puranas, he talked about multiplying these numbers by a factor of 2. In his commentary on Vishnu Purana, Canto 1, chapter 3, text number 7. I published a paper on this in European Journal of Science and Theology where I talk about in detail how he talks about this conversion factor. Then I also found out there was another time unit which was missing, Prati Sandhi, the last one on the table. And that's a unit which comes in between consecutive kalpas. So the final table comes out to be these are the solar years and the rightmost line, and then these are left one, these are the Puranic time units. So once we have these table down, then we can go and look into dates for significant events in the history of the Earth, solar system, and universe based on the Puranic accounts. So the Puranas explain that currently we are in the 7th Manvantara, known as Vaivasvata Manvantara, and there was a pralaya or a mass extinction in the Chakshusha Manvantara. We are currently 28th in the 28th Chaturyuga. That means 27 have passed and we are the 28th. In the 28th Chaturyuga, we are almost at the beginning of the Kali Yuga. On the left side, you see have a table. So somebody who likes, they can go ahead and calculate using these numbers. When you add these up, stepping back, the pralaya happened, or the mass extinction happened in the last Chaturyuga of the previous Manvantara. So by using this diagram, you can get that it has been 241 million years since the beginning of this Manvantara. Then there's a Manvantara Sandhya. And then you have to add years, a million years, from the last Chaturyuga, because the Pralaya started 2 million years into the first Satyuga. Again, the references for all these are available in my scholarly paper, which can be seen on our site. When you add these up, the date comes out to be 251.2 million years. According to the Puranas, this is the biggest Pralaya on Bhumandala. Bhumandala is again the level at which our Earth is situated. So Bhumandala is according to the Puranas, is a higher dimensional realm which is around us, surrounding the Earth. And Earth is a small part of it. So the biggest Pralaya, or the biggest mass extinction on Bhumandala happened 251.2 million years ago. According to paleontologists, the biggest mass extinction which occurred on Earth, is 251.9 million years ago. And of course, it took scientists a lot of time to reach this value. And it is not speculation. It's not that they have multiple radioactive dating techniques by which they have got this date. So this is pretty strong date done by MIT researchers. The Puranic date differs by 0.3% from scientific date. Next, the beginning of the origin of the solar system. So as I was telling you earlier, that Brahma, he's at the topmost level, and for him, time goes very slowly. So slowly that his day is equal to a kalpa, and a kalpa is 8.64 billion years. So according to the Puranas, and all the Puranas agree on this point, that at the end of the night of Brahma, he begins the creation of the solar system, or the creation of the sun. And if we take the previous chart, as I was explaining to you, we are the 7th Manvantara. That means 6 Manvantaras have passed in the current day of Brahma. And there is a Prati Sandhi here, which is another time unit. I know there are many strange and new words. Thank you for trying to understand this. It's a tough concept. So if we add these numbers, the value comes out to be 4.562 billion years. This is the date for origin of the sun according to the Puranas. Now, what do the scientists say? The scientists state that, again, they've been working very hard on this problem, and their current opinion is that the sun was born 4.567 billion years ago. This dating is based on dating of, multiple radioactive techniques. So again, this is pretty strong. Astrophysicists accept this date. They have a consensus amongst them. And of course, there is more dates in the Puranas too. We're here discussing 3 main data points, because the Puranas also give an exact date for when the sun would break, when the sun will become a red giant, and later when it would turn into a planetary nebulae. It discusses that too, but in this debate, I'm not giving details on that dating or the calculation of that date. Finally, we're going to talk about date for origin of the universe. So the first one was mass extinction, for which the date from the Puranas is 251.2. For the origin of the sun, the date is 4.562 billion years. And now we're going to talk about the date for the Big Bang, or the origin of the universe. So as I was telling you earlier, Kalpa is a day of Brahma. We're currently halfway into it. According to the Puranas, there was an elemental disintegration and reconstruction at the end of the previous day of Brahma. So currently we are here in the middle of the first day of Brahma, in this second Parardha. Parardha means his second 50 years. He lived for 100 years. So this is the first day in his 50 years. And
Lives for 100 years, not that he lived.
oh, sorry, yeah, he lives for 100 years, but he has lived, currently he is in this 51st year, first day. So it's a long birthday for him. And in this day, he has already spent, or in this 50 years, he has already gone through one night, and we are halfway to the first day of Brahma. So 6 Manvantras have passed. Before that, there was a Kalpa, and there is also 2 Pratisandhis. When you add these numbers, it comes out to be 13.819 billion solar years. Again, this is cutting edge Puranic research, and you won't find much material, much discussion on this topic online, because this is something which people have ignored for the longest, thanks to British imperialism in India. However, if you look into the references which I provided in my paper and the book, you should be able to follow this step by step. Finally, what do the scientists say about this? So scientists have been working with this problem for the longest, and their current opinion is that the universe is 13.801 billion years old. The difference is 0.1%. So we have 3 different dating techniques, 3 very sophisticated problems, and for all these problems, Puranas have given a data much before scientists came. We talk about novel testable predictions. Puranas have these for the longest. The Puranic sages have been claiming for the longest that the Puranas are a reliable source of knowledge, and they have given 30 seconds. So they have given novel testable predictions, and finally in 2018, 2020, we are finally coming to, modern science is finally coming to accept what Puranas are saying about these dates. Somebody may say, maybe they guessed it. The probability of guessing these dates is equal to somebody winning 30 lotteries in a row. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. But is it
Realistic.
Is it realistic? I'm not sure.
Thank you very much. We will kick it over to our atheist guests, who will be giving their opening statement before we go into the open discussion portion. So, TJump and Jim Majors, glad to have you back, and the floor is all yours.
Awesome. I'll jump in and start. So what he mentioned at the end there was that if someone guessed all of these was correct, that would be equivalent to winning 30 lotteries in a row. Now, that would be correct if these guesses were just exactly the number of guesses. I think they made 3 predictions there. So if you guessed these 3 things and nothing else, then that would be correct. But if you make 1 billion guesses and you just happen to get these 3 right, well, that's actually really not that improbable. That's pretty probable, actually. So the way to assess if the Puranas are actually reliable source of knowledge to indicate Krishna would be to see if it has other failures. Like, how many other failures does it guess wrong? So I'm going to be really interested to find out what exactly the Puranas say about history prior to the extinctions he mentioned, and after what happened at the origin of the Earth, are there people in these stories, human beings that exist prior to 200,000 years ago? Because if so, then the Piranhas probably got every single one of those wrong up until this point, which means it made about 1 billion wrong guesses, and it happened to get some dates right. Well, that's nice, but that doesn't actually indicate Krishna. That indicates somebody made a bunch of guesses and got a few right and a whole bunch of them wrong. And so that would show he doesn't actually have evidence to indicate Krishna. Secondly, I'd like to ask him about that consensus he mentioned. He mentioned that there is this consensus of these dates that were accepted by all scholars. Except his dates seem to be a little different than the ones accepted by all scholars for some reason. Like those don't seem to be the same. It seems like his are off by a factor of 2, if I remember correctly. So it'll be strange to see that why his numbers disagree with the consensus of scholars of every other field, as far as I can tell, and somehow they're off by a factor of 2, and why his numbers fit while the others don't, when everyone else says their numbers fit and his don't. I don't get it. But we'll find that out during the question and answer. I'll go over to Jim.
Sorry. Yeah, I agree with everything everything TJump said. It's the only thing that I really agreed with from the other side's opening statement was that there at the very end where you said that he wasn't sure if it was realistic or not, and I had to agree completely. I'm not sure that it is realistic at all. This is one of many attempts to smuggle in another highly mythologized, irrationally conceived leap of faith under the skirt of a rational conclusion that our universe seems to have a beginning. And in this case, they believe that is indeed cyclic. They also believe that it was created. They believe that it is eternal. But is it eternal or is it created? Can't be both. And whether you have a 0.1% difference, a 0.2% difference, or a 0.01% difference in the estimates of what you claim to be the consensus, if that indeed was the consensus, which it's not, but even if it was, and all scholars accepted it, it's still off. So either you're saying that science got it wrong and the Vedic literature has it right, or the Puranas have it right, then you're saying that one must be wrong. But you've told us your beliefs, explained your religion, but there was no rationalization of the theistic beliefs. All you did was rationalize ancient astronomical observations at best. Mathematics, that's about it. But as far as the theism behind Krishna, the creation of the universe and its cyclic nature, or things like I'm assuming you probably believe in reincarnation and karma and things like that, rationalizing that with the expanding population of the world. There's really not much left to say. I think we should just get to open discussion.
Thank you very much. We will jump into open discussion with a couple of quick points. One, our guests are linked in the description, and right below those links is the link to our Kickstarter. Want to say, Kickstarter says the rules are I can't say the name of a person who pledges. So I'll just say their name starts with a J. Just saw you join the Kickstarter, so thank you so much, friend, for doing that. And with that, we will jump into open conversation for about an hour.
First of all, a small primer on probability. If the probability of something is 10 raised to the power minus 170, which means winning 30 lotteries, and if you make 1 billion guesses, the probability gets reduced by 10 raised to the power minus 9. The probability still stays 10 raised to the power minus 160. So even if somebody were to make 1 billion guesses and get the dates right for these 3 points, the claim still holds. Point number 2, Jim made a point that this is not very amazing. That
about the billion guesses. You can keep on.
Okay, that's one second. Jim made a very interesting point. He said, this is not really amazing that how come an ancient culture got this astrological findings right. Many ancient cultures have this astronomical findings. They got something right. Maybe they also got these people. Every culture has got something right. Maybe these Puranas also got something right. First of all, fossils or skeletons don't hang in the sky. Two, dating the universe is not an astrological problem. It's a cosmological problem. Completely different field. Just to give you education on that. Let me finish my point, then you can counter it.
Sure.
Dating-
Just be straight. I
dating-
said astronomical, not astrological.
Well, you said astronomical. Yeah, sorry. Astronomical and cosmological are completely different fields. You can see a star for 1,000,000 years, or observe any stars, any planets. You can never guess a date for the origin of the universe. Completely different scientific problem.
How do you think we got those dates?
Well, I want to say something about the billion guesses thing too. That doesn't really stand to reason. If you look at first of all, there's only one, you see copies of Puranas all over the world. They all give the same information. You look in major universities where manuscripts are given, and that was in 1880, in the 1900s, and those books all give the same verses. Now, the idea that there's a missed time unit that hasn't been noticed by other scholars, and that another factor of two, basically there's Sridhar Swami, who's widely accepted as an authority on the Puranas by all Hindu or Puranic scholars. And this statement that we found from him, where he mentions the factor of two, it's an obscure statement that not many people have found. So we found the statement
by Hindu and Puranic scholars. Well, what about scholars of the field of cosmology?
Well, they don't study the Puranas, do they?
Why not?
Are you saying none of them do?
Because they.
I have an answer for it, and that's a very interesting phenomenon which happened in 15th century. You know what I'm talking about? Renaissance. There was a big Renaissance, 15th century.
Renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, the British there has been a divide between religion and science, and that was not there in India. But when British imperialists, when they came to India, they took their biblical training to impose on Indians that their scriptures, their textbooks, or whatever the books they're reading are trash, are myths. So they ignored it. So since 18th century, they have not been studied in a thorough manner. And we're bringing it back. As I said, it's a cutting edge research. It's new stuff. And I'm publishing papers too on the same topic, peer-reviewed papers.
So why should we expect cosmologists to study the Puranas, and why should we expect religious scholars to study cosmology? Why should we expect that to be something that would have happened by now?
Well, scientists study whatever works. So if this actually worked, they'd study it. So we can conclude it probably doesn't work.
Really?
Right. Well, why would you expect Hindu and Puranic scholars to study cosmology?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying, why would you expect Puranic scholars to study cosmology, and why would you expect cosmologists to study Puranas?
Because
cosmologists
they're not exclusive to each other.
1% at a time, please. Confusing.
Yeah, let me go for a sec. So cosmologists would study whatever works, because scientists don't care what they're doing. Just whatever works is what they study. So if they're not studying, it means it probably doesn't work or hasn't been shown to work.
Sure.
You said that your stats disagree with the majority of experts. So you say your numbers are off by something. You found this extra variable that no one else knew about because no one was studying the text, and so they couldn't find it or something like that. That doesn't matter. No one else found it. So none of the other experts found this. You somehow did. Claiming that they're all just ignorant of this magical document that you found is rather strange, especially since you're saying some other well-respected priest guy, I don't want to forget the term exactly. He found it first. How old is he? Where does he live? When did he find this?
He is a 13th century Puranic scholar, Sridhar Swami.
13th century, you said?
Yes.
So this has been known for 700 years.
Yes, and then one of the first English commentators on the Puranas, H.H. Wilson, he's an Oxford professor in Sanskrit. He wrote a commentary in English. He translated the first Puranas into English, Vishnu Purana. He came across Sridhar Swami's commentary, and he said, this must be a mistake for him, and he ignored it.
Well, I don't care what he said. So I care about what the majority of scholars say. So if this has been known for 700 years and the majority of scholars haven't noticed it, I'm probably going to go with them. over
No,
you
they
on this.
noticed it. They noticed it. They noticed it, but they said this can't be right. They rejected his opinion. It is in Sanskrit. It's available. It is his opinion. It's available.
Okay, so the majority of scholars rejected his opinion for 700 years, and you're saying
Yeah.
it's the correct opinion.
No, not for 700 years. For 700 years, it was known. Since last 150 years, when modern science, coming from Western world, the English translations, in the English translation, it is ignored. In the Sanskrit translation, it is there for 700 years. It's available there.
Okay, so the majority of scholars reject this. You accept this. I'm going to go with the majority of scholars. But so the only reason that your numbers fit is because of this new thing that none of the experts accept, that you found that no one else knew about. Okay, well, I'm happy to grant that. We can just grant that and say, all right, fine, I'll let you have that one. And then let's move on to, well, what happened before the extinction you talked about? Were there human beings in the Puranas? Did the Puranas mention human beings prior to 200,000 years ago?
I mean, that's a wonderful question, but I hate to call you out here, Tom, but that's a little bit of a red herring. You haven't actually addressed the significance of the date in of itself. So we will get into that whenever you want later on. But first, let's talk about the potential significance of these dates.
Well, I just did. So I said, you got them wrong. So I just did that. You got them wrong. You have a new, one second.
How long does the universe last? A kalpa.
Sorry?
How long does the universe last before it's destroyed, or it's
Universe or the solar system?
The universe.
The universe is, according to the Puranas, is going to go for 333 trillion.
That's just the matter of it. But the universe, where it's recreated, where it has the pralaya, I believe, at the end.
Yeah, it's 333 trillion. I can show the calculations if you want.
It's not 4.32 billion.
I think I understand what your question is. You have issue with the cyclic nature of time that's described in the Puranas, because that
right because what you're describing isn't the cycle. The cycle is 4.32 billion years, followed by an equal 4.32 billion years of where it's at rest, where the matter's at rest and unmanifested.
Okay, I'll show you the screen for that. You're talking about the cycle for the solar system, and I'll show you that in a second in our slides.
Okay, so you're claiming that there are cycles of the solar system within the universe, within those 333 trillion years?
Yes.
Okay. That is not in corroboration with modern science at all.
What do you mean? A sun dies, and
modern science, there are people who hold to the universe expanding and retracting, the big bounce theory, things like that, but none of them talk about the systems inside of the galaxies, these solar systems, teeny tiny solar systems, having that same process. Nothing about our astronomical observations indicate that.
Okay, I'll ask a couple of questions. Have you heard a lot? I mean, I'm sure people talk about this all the time, especially the atheist scientists who talk about how we are all made of stars.
Yes.
What is an atheist scientist?
Well, I'm saying people like to say that we're just stars, we just matter, we're not soul. Something that's their famous claim. That's just a side comment. Anyways,
and stars are matter. We are matter. I mean,
yeah, we matter. Okay, so then a star, when it dies, it creates heavier metals.
Sure.
Yes.
It also releases a lot of hydrogen clouds. After some time, they come back together, and it creates next sun and another solar system.
Well, it creates bunches of suns. It's not one sun that blows up and creates one sun. It's right. Bunches of suns.
Yeah, I'm not saying when did I claim that it creates the same sun? I never.
You said
that.
The solar system has a cyclic nature to it, right?
Yes, cyclic means because we are skipping each other. So Jim made the point. I mean, I guess first you can finish your point. Then I can.
Cyclic means it's recreated. It's destroyed and it's recreated in some way. Either it is unborn, or it's retracted, or it's dematerialized, or something. But the fact is that it goes back into a state of non-being and then is created again. That's what cyclic means. Which
Well,
there's
So according to the Puranas, cyclic nature is not that. Cyclic nature is that it destroys, and then after some time, Brahma, he sort of like initiates another solar system using the previous material. It is not saying that the same solar system is created again.
okay, but a sun is not created by a destroyed star. Yeah, another sun isn't created.
It is. When a solar system is destroyed, okay, let me share you some references. As a solar system is destroyed, the the material which comes out of it, it becomes the material for the next solar system. That's how the solar system.
No, it doesn't. No,
Well,
it
actually,
doesn't.
I mean, technically, part of it does. So after a supernova, the particles get sprayed over everywhere, and those particles get absorbed into other.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, things are blown in all different directions, and some things will be caught by the gravitational field of other existing solar systems. But another sun isn't going to be born from the matter, especially not like an equal representation or anything like that. It's
Right, it's combined with lots and lots of other matter that had nothing to do with the solar system that makes up
Right.
the star. And
well,
exactly.
we have no contention with that.
right. So,
Okay.
but you're saying that somehow solar systems are cyclic just because some particles from some sun are in part of the new
I think
solar
it's
system.
a little
Right.
bit of an issue of semantics here. I might be wrong about that, but I
It's a
get the sense
conflation.
you're considering cyclic to mean a creation of the
Repurpose.
same exact thing.
Yeah.
We're talking about cyclic means like, you're gonna come over here and I'll make you a brownie cake. And then every time you come over here, I'll make you something, maybe a brownie cake, maybe a different type of cake, but it's cyclic in the sense that it's always happening whenever you come over here, but it's not
No,
the same thing. It doesn't even have to be the same materials.
That's fine.
No, it can only be considered cyclic, and pardon the bluntness of it, but if you take my feces and make me a brownie cake out of that, and I don't want that, but it had
Don't worry, I'm not gonna make you one of those. Even if you beg me on your knees, I don't care how much you ask me, I won't make you one of those. But I nothing against you or anything. I'll make you a real brownie cake, but I can't promise that. I'm sorry.
So yeah, so you're claiming it's cyclic, but the age of the sun, the age of the solar system changes all the time, and it's not, the sun isn't going to go into supernova for a very long time. So your dates for the cyclic solar system seem to be completely wrong. Just the sun expanding isn't a cyclic solar system, and the cyclic cycles that you're describing happen in all different kinds of times. There's no pattern to them. They're just completely random, essentially.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's what the Puranas say. The Puranas say time goes at different pace and in the cycles have a different, what you call, measurement for different solar systems. According to the Puranas, it depends on the size of the Brahma. A Brahma who has capacity to handle, a particular size, he has 4 heads. There are Brahmas which have 100 heads, and according to the Puranas, their solar systems are much more bigger. So they're not saying that all these solar systems have the same time.
Okay, so you're saying that
we're just talking about sorry.
So you're saying that each of the trillions and trillions of solar system all have these heads somewhere hidden in them?
No, what I'm saying is that you asked me that do they have same time? I said
Right.
They don't have same life cycle of the sun. That's all.
Right, and there's trillions of solar systems everywhere, and they all have different times, right? Different cycles.
Not necessarily. Depends on the size of the person who's in charge of it.
But
The power of the person, the potency of
but
the.
I don't think you understand that. In order for it to be a solar system, it has to have the solar part. You have to have a sun, a central star. I mean, you can't get that from the matter of a destroyed solar system, no matter how hard you try.
I think you can ask TJump. He can help you understand. Sorry, I can't.
He's being extremely vague, and he just means that some particles from some sun get formed into some other sun. That's a cycle. So it's extremely vague meaning of what cyclic means. But so you're
So
saying
then
that
it's
there's
not one solar system, it's actually parts of many, but it doesn't create another one. It just is just matter that contributes to the creation of another one
Yeah,
that has
that's all
not
he's
been
saying.
demonstrated to be done at the hands of some intentional thinking being.
Yeah, all he's saying is that some particles get put into some other particles of some other solar system, and he's going to call that a cycle. So that's
Well, I mean,
you're-
regardless of what it is, it's just a misunderstanding of cosmology. And I'm not a cosmologist myself, so I don't pretend to understand all of it, but I know that that's a wrong way of looking at it. But
Well,
astronomy and
let me
cosmology side,
Jim,
none
he's saying the same thing you are. He agrees with you completely.
for
Jim, sorry, Jim. Sure.
belief in Krishna being rational.
Jim, he's agreeing with everything you're saying. He's just calling that a cycle. So yeah, he understands
Yeah.
what you're saying. He's just
Oh,
calling that a
okay.
cycle.
yeah, it's
So-
I said I think it's a little bit of an issue of semantics. I mean, it sounds to me like what you guys are talking about is recycling. Maybe we can just throw out that word. We're talking about something that is repeating. So is a repeated event. I mean, we can use whatever language we want to describe it, but it's a repeated event that solar
Sure.
systems are created and destroyed.
Right. Okay. So I wanted to go on to a
As
next
long as
point.
you
So
say that it's not cosmological language.
okay, yeah, he's not a cosmologist either, so he doesn't need to. It's fine. So you're saying that each of these solar systems is governed by some person, some mind of some kind, and that mind determines how old the universe is going to be, or the solar system.
Well, what I'm saying, what I'm saying is that two things. The Puranas, which are ancient texts written in Sanskrit, at least 2,500 years old, have these data points which were written in Sanskrit long ago, and which have these dates for the sun and the universe. Now, if somebody is able to, set a number and give it to us, beforehand, that is that I'm going to reach at this place at this time beforehand, and he knows, so it seems that those personalities are like cosmic choreographers. So they are setting up the laws in such a manner, such system in such a manner that what they are saying is coming to true in 2018. They have given dates for age of the sun, beginning of the age of the beginning, origin of the universe, and they have come to be stunningly in agreement with modern science. This is called novel, testable predictions given in the Puranas.
Okay.
Okay, but you didn't answer my question. You didn't answer my question. So you said that there are minds controlling each of the solar systems, and that governs how old they're going to be. Is that correct?
Well, I'm saying, as I said, they are setting up the physical laws and the systems in such a way that they set the lifetime of those solar systems by their
So you're saying every single solar system is governed by a mind of some kind.
through physical laws.
Okay, do you have any evidence for any minds prior to humans?
Well, let's again try not to do the red herring thing, and let's talk about the.
It's not a red herring. This is my argument. So my argument is that you got some guesses right. That's nice. How many did you get wrong?
But you have to, if you're saying that they're guesses, you have to demonstrate that logically.
That's what I'm doing.
Because if you look at the actual dates, they're pretty much the most significant dates you can think of in cosmological history: the origin of the universe, the origin of the solar system, and these mass extinctions. I don't know if you can think of anything that will be more significant, but the fact that the Puranas got those right might be worth considering significant. And then, because of that, to give a little bit more credence to the Puranas than what the British imperialists have given, of turning it just into pure mythology.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, that's what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, let's say you got those dates right. That's great. Let's see if he gets the other things right. Well, did it get right the age of humans? Does it say there are humans prior to 200,000 years ago? Yes or no?
No.
What? Because we
They talk
literally
about
went over this.
They talk about divine beings on Bhumandala.
So there are minds. There are subjects. There are kings. There are castles. There are all these things prior to 200,000 years ago.
Well,
One thing, not on Earth.
Okay, so there are minds and humans and things outside of past 200,000 years ago, right?
not on Earth,
Not on Earth.
but yes.
So yes, there are, which has
Not on
zero
Earth.
evidence anywhere.
Not on Earth. You won't find archaeological evidence for it.
Okay, so it got things wrong. So it says there are minds prior to 200,000 years ago. It got it wrong. I think they froze.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, internet cut out there.
Yeah, can you go and jump? Sorry.
Yeah. So it says there are all these kingdoms and things, and there are these people, and there are subjects and servants, and all of these things are occurring prior to 200,000 years ago when there were no humans or anything.
Well, because as I stated in the beginning, the premise here is that the Puranas as we can demonstrate through what the Puranas say themselves, are meant to give knowledge of what is beyond human perception. So,
except for the cases that you want.
well, no, even those cases are not directly, as we found by having to treat our Swami's factor of two. We found that it's actually not it's not a direct statement that you look in the Puranas and it says, hey, the universe is 13.819 billion years old. No, the books are not textbooks. If you want a textbook on science, you should go to school. If you want to know something deeper about yourself and about reality and about God and about higher realms, then you should go to the Puranas. And just coincidentally or incidentally, the Puranas also happen to have specific dates that coordinate with the most significant dates in cosmological history.
So you're contradicting yourself. You just said.
What is it?
Well, I mean, you're saying that science is wrong because you admit yourself that there's a discrepancy on these dates. So, I mean, even if that were the consensus, like I said in my opening statement, you're saying that science is wrong. So, right?
I wanted to be corrected. What did I say? I said science is wrong. I didn't mean to say that if I said that.
No. That is what you're saying. If there's even a 0.1% discrepancy in what you claim is the consensus, then you're saying that science is wrong.
Well, science has always been aiming for more and more accuracy
But they're not accurate.
Well, they haven't been, and why would they all of a sudden be accurate, 100% accurate now? They don't claim
it's not because of the Vedas.
Scientists don't claim that they're 100% accurate.
It's not because of the Vedic literature. I can tell you that.
They're estimates. That science give estimations on these things.
So you're saying the Vedic literature is more accurate than science.
Literature isn't an estimate.
Correct.
So science is wrong.
No, I'm saying science is not wrong in their estimation.
Okay, it's not zero or one case. It's not black or white.
Yeah.
But
by giving an estimation, they're wrong.
There are shades of gray. There's not like a black knowledge for ignorance, and there is the correct truth. The science is trying to approach absolute truth with every iteration. So it's not wrong. It is close to truth. That's
Jim's question is your Puranas more accurate than today's science?
Are the Puranas more accurate than science? Yes. That's our claim.
And the reason
that's our claim.
Okay.
And that's a novel, testable prediction for future for TJump.
Sure, it absolutely is.
Okay, so why aren't scientists using this literature? You don't think that there's any scientist that has noticed this and thought, hey, maybe I should use this? Well, why is there nobody but Puranic and Hindu scholars talking about this?
Very good point. In early 1900s, Alfred Wegener proposed the idea of continental drift. At first, he was ridiculed. He was thrown out of the conferences. It took him 40 years to be accepted by the consensus of the that field. So I have wrote in the paper was scholarly accepted just recently. I'm going to write more papers, and with your blessings, with your support, we'll push it more harder. And we're thankful to James for giving us a floor so more people can know about it.
I mean, scholarly papers that are put before peer review that are that are testable and can be provable, that they don't have difficulty because they can be repeated. I mean, these usually pass the peer review process very quickly.
That's fine. So they're publishing papers, and if you guys get them published and you convince the consensus, that is great evidence. I'm happy to admit that as evidence. But as far as I can tell, you haven't. And since this has been known about for quite some time,
one more time.
you haven't done it yet, so it doesn't count as evidence yet.
Okay, so basically, if you were around at the time of Wegener and nobody else had accepted him except for him, even if he gave you sufficient evidence to show you that there was continental drift, you would not accept it until there was consensus among scientists. So as far as I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the fallacy of appeal to popularity. Unless something actually is accepted by everybody, then I won't accept it.
No, so that's just a basic misunderstanding of basic philosophy. So in Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, section of fallacies, number 10 is the ad populum fallacy. And it specifically says, trusting the consensus or the popularity of just random people and not an actual authority. So trusting the consensus in science is actually one of the examples it gives, which is not an ad populum. and not an appeal to authority fallacy because it's an actual authority. So if Wigner gave me evidence of quantum drift or whatever, I would say, I have no idea what this is. I'm not a quantum physicist. Tell them. And if you can convince those guys, the expert consensus, then I'll be like, yep, I grant your evidence. But I'm going to let the experts evaluate it because that's the correct way to assess evidence.
Well, thank you for correcting my ad populum, my mistake there. But in that case, with Wagner, we'll just take that case a little farther. You would give credence to his idea based off of the evidence that he gives, but reserve completely taking in total what he's saying until he gets further peer review. That seems reasonable. But to take an automatically negative approach that, well, until I see every scientist gives a consensus on this, that I'm not going to accept it. I think that's fallacious, to be perfectly honest, because there's many things that are not accepted by all scientists, but which are challenged by scientists, but which are still used in the scientific world. And
what? So as far as I know,
these are consensuses that are relatively new as far as scientific discoveries go, and the Puranic and Vedic literature are so old. You would think that these dates would have been established earlier, and we would have no problem with the history of cosmology as we know it, especially in Hindu culture. I mean,
yeah. Well, in that point, if you had watched Carl Sagan's show, he talked about it in his show in 1980s.
Cosmos.
He's not him, and also not other cosmologists took to studying it thoroughly. I'm on the first.
I'm from the 1980s. I'm much younger than the universe. I'm much younger than the history of humanity.
Yeah.
I mean,
his show was very popular. People I watched off later too. Very popular show. And he talked about how the Vedas seem to have very close date. But again, since he's not a Sanskrit scholar, he could not look into it. Thanks to data science and thanks to my knowledge of Sanskrit, I can combine the two things together. And this is new research. It's cutting edge research coming straight.
Well, I agree with those dates, the Carl Sagan dates. I agree with the dates that I look up in the academic journals, but you seem to not agree with those. Your dates are different than Carl Sagan dates.
Yes, my dates are different. And I introduced two things as I shared in the slides. I add a factor of 2 and I add a new time unit called Pratisandhi. For both of them, I give references. Pratisandhi is in Vayu Purana and Brahmanda Purana, and factor of 2 comes from Sridhar Swami. There's not a lot which I'm adding, by the way. And these two factors added up show the age of the universe to be within 0.1% of modern scientific date. They show date for the origin of the sun to be within 0.08%. They show date for the greatest mass extinction to be within 0.3%. And they talk about the evolution of the sun into a giant sun, like a red giant. They talk about a date for the sun's final destruction. This is all discussed in my book. And they talk about so many more dates. And there I have about a dozen data points in my book, which I suggest people can read. The link is below in the YouTube description.
But look, you just tried to explain to everybody in your opening statement how you came to this conclusion, and you yourself said several times that this is a difficult concept to comprehend, and apparently this is a recent concept as far as the history of the literature goes. So I mean, I just don't understand how this is supposed to be some sort of hidden knowledge that you claim is so easy to find. You come to these dates, but I can speak for all the hundreds of people who have seen this already, that we have no idea what you were talking about or how you came to that number. No idea.
I can go over again, and that's my job as a scholar. That's my job to educate people in new concepts. And if you're interested in knowledge, that's what you come here to this channel. Modern Day Debate is all about knowledge, and I'm here to provide
it's
knowledge.
supposed to be revealed knowledge. Why is it so difficult? Why do we have to go over it a second time, and probably a third? Because I have a strong feeling I won't understand it the second time either.
Yeah, I mean that's again going back to the premise is that's because that's not the Puranas are not textbooks of cosmology. The Puranas are meant to give us an understanding of that which we cannot perceive with our senses, which is our self, our soul, our relationship with God, higher realities. That's what the purpose of the Puranas is. So of course it's going to be, it's not going to be, a thing that's just very like straightforward explained in there. It comes as a incidental consequence of taking a look at the timelines
Gotcha.
in the lifetimes, and okay, the universe was created, that story is there, and then if you connect that to the other lifetimes and then you look at it, then you can see how the calculation comes out. And just to say one thing about you actually looking at the calculations themselves and it being such hard work, really it's not rocket science. I mean, I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, and it's not that hard for me to figure it out. So I think honestly, if anybody spends, especially somebody like you guys who are obviously working on intellectual platform, can within probably 20 minutes or less, figure out these calculations and show and see how what we're doing is completely consistent with Puranic chronology, and that we're not adding anything in that isn't there already.
Well,
Okay,
so
so the stuff that it's meant to express, like the theological aspect of it, is any of that testable? I mean, any of that at all?
Yeah. So, how that's testable is it's not through the scientific method. So if you want to put God under a microscope, or you want to, achieve some spiritual understanding through modern scientific instruments or, test tubes, it's not going to happen. It happens through development of the spiritual senses. It happens through purification of the mind. And processes are given in the Puranas by which one can achieve that purification of mind and that evolvement of, if that's a word, of the senses, and to achieve a higher understanding of these higher topics. So yes, it is testable. It is provable to oneself, but not in the sense of how modern science does things. The idea is that there is things that can be experienced that can be true, that cannot necessarily be shown, or they cannot be understood simply through empirical analysis. I'll just give you a really basic example, like pizza, for example. Let's say I make you a pizza from normal ingredients, if that's okay. And I give you the pizza, and you can try to experience the pizza. You can smell the pizza, you can touch the pizza, you can try to listen to the pizza, but really the pizza, to actually understand what I've created for you on the level that I want you to understand it, what it was made for is for you to taste it. So when you eat that pizza, then you understand by experience what the pizza is all about, at least what its intention was for. And in the same way, God, the soul, is something that is learned through experience. Again, not something that you put under a microscope or in a test tube.
And have you yourself achieved this higher state?
Yeah, I would say that anybody who's followed the practices given in the Puranas, to some extent or another, see, it's just like any discipline. There's different degrees of realization that are given to different degrees of intensity of practitioners. I can't say I'm a perfect practitioner.
What has that done for you, like personally? What has
it done for me personally?
Yeah, like achieving that higher state. Well, what have you been able to accomplish with that higher state?
That's a really great question. Well, I would love to answer that question. I think we should talk about it. I feel honored that you'd want to ask me that question. And I think it's a great opportunity to speak about that. But I still want to make sure that we've covered the initial, claim, the warrant, and the impact that we're trying to establish here. And after we get through with that, then let's talk a little bit about what that experience is like and what that means for somebody who actually is willing to take it seriously and apply it themselves.
So I just want to jump in.
I don't think anybody can really truly understand, like if it is, as you say it is, until they actually experience it for themselves. But just to get a little bit of understanding, like kind of want to see what the end result of achieving that higher state would be.
Well, let me just repeat again, if you don't mind, the case here. The case is
Sure.
is that science leads to Krishna. Science leads to Krishna is supported by the evidence that we've shown in the Puranas of them lining up with scientific dating. That efficient and wonderful, compelled to, if they desire to understand things like God, or they wish to invoke peace and harmony in the world, they should be willing to apply themselves to the processes given in the Puranas so that they can, test and see if those things actually give the results which are claimed in the Puranas themselves. So that's the case. I'm not making any other case than that. And take it or leave it.
So yeah, I wanted to jump in real quick. So I think that yes, the dates in the Puranas are the most accurate of any religious text I've ever seen. So I grant that for certain. I don't think that your numbers are accurate. I think those are very strange that you've manipulated the data and then you've ambiguated the texts in the Puranas to make them fit events in history, which they may or may not. They're ambiguity fallacies. You could make them fit tons and tons of different dates and different events. And so you've picked the most significant ones and assigned those to the dates, which is pretty easy. That's most religions do that. So I don't see from the text that I have read in the Puranas, they don't seem to explicitly state the sun of the earth has this exact date. It seems to be a generalization about lots of different things that could apply to anything, the sun, the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, anything that could hit the earth could do these. There's lots of things they could apply to your specific dates, which I don't see agreeing with the general understanding of the Puranas dates, which is again, yours is different from a factor of two. So I think those dates are really nice. I think your dates are strange. So, but again, it seems like you're cherry picking. You've cherry picked a few dozen dates that are really nice. And even if they're every single date and none of the dates are wrong, they still got everything else wrong. So saying that you mentioned this a few times, that the Puranas are not meant to be taken as literal descriptions of history, except for these 12 examples that you have cherry picked because these are the ones that you think count for a god. Now, if all of the Puranas were a historical account, that would be great evidence. You had hundreds and hundreds of examples of historical facts that all lined up with history. That would be great evidence. Cherry picking a dozen or so while everything else fails and saying, well, everything else is just really, it's not really supposed to be taken literally, seems to be cherry picking, just like what religious people do in Christianity or Islam, where they say these dates are really nice, these fit really well, but these things are supposed to be taken like not so literally. They're not real. Global flood, nah, that was more figurative. It's like a logo flood kind of a thing. So as far as I can tell, I don't see how this is great evidence. Like, now I'll grant great dates in Hinduism better than any other religion. So you're one up on Christianity and Islam. I'll grant you that, but you're still like a million steps behind science in pretty much every field.
Multiple things. You first claim that I'm using an ambiguous method for coming up with these dates. And if you want to argue that, you'll have to write a counter paper in a scholarly peer-reviewed journal where you show where I'm using ambiguity, because I quote Sanskrit verses and I make up a case based on other people's previous research on this topic. 2, these dates are not amazing compared to other religious texts. These dates are amazing compared to any other modern textbook on cosmology, astrology, or paleontology. In paleontology, the topic of mass extinction was only discovered in the 1980s, thanks to two physicists. The date for age of the sun is something 4.567 is something which is only in 2018 we have come to know. And the age of the universe is 13.819. I guess if you call cosmology as a religion, then we can say that yes, amongst all the religions of cosmology, astrophysics, and paleontology, the Puranas are the best texts on best religious text on these values. I guess we can say that. I guess we call science as religion.
Wait, just to clarify what I meant.
Let me get all the points. I'll listen to you. I won't count all the points. Then you can come and speak.
You misrepresented my point there. So my point was that if we look at a history textbook, there's thousands of facts that are correct. If we look at the Puranas, there's 12 facts that are correct. So that's the difference.
I'm coming to that. 1 point at a time. I'm taking a statement at a time. I'll give you time. You can answer me. Take our time. Next, you mentioned that if Puranas were literal history, that'd be great. The Puranas, as I said earlier, we said in the beginning, the premise that Puranas are describing a history of the subtle world, or the history of the world which is higher dimensional, which we don't have an access to. So it is wrong to say that those dates or those whatever descriptions are given there, they are wrong compared to modern science. Again, I go back to my first point, which you mentioned right in the beginning, that if Puranas make billion claims, and of them about 12 are correct, then we have to ignore these 12 data points. No. If the probability of few events is 10 raised to the power minus 170, and you have a billion such events, that reduces the probability to 1 out of 10 raised to the power 160. That is a basic course on probability.
Okay, well, why is it that 0 scholarly papers in any of those fields cite the Puranas?
Which scholarly fields?
any
Cosmology, I think, is what he's talking about.
cosmology, paleontology, any of them.
That's very good, and that's a good observation because usually cosmologists, astrophysicists, and paleontologists are not trained in Sanskrit. To read the Puranas, they have to read the Sanskrit. I'm sure in
It's
future,
been translated.
in future, they will
You read Sanskrit?
Yes, I studied
Okay.
Sanskrit for 10 years.
Do you have to read Sanskrit in order to be able to understand it?
Of course.
You can't understand it by reading it in English?
No, English translation you can read, but English translations are usually what you call, summarized versions. They are interested in giving words by words, word by word, because I like to read each word, understand, like to the translation of each word by word. Like that's something done by Prabhupada. For Bhagavad Purana, I consulted the translation given by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, because he gives word by word translation for each Sanskrit word. So I recommend, if you want to read a Purana, I would recommend reading Bhagavad Purana by Srila Prabhupada, because he does that job. I would take his translation.
But you translate it in order for us to understand it.
Sorry?
But you translate it, right? Like for me to be able to understand it.
I think
Or are you saying that I can't
translated it for others to be able to understand.
Yeah, I would translate for other people. That's what I did in my paper. We give Sanskrit verses and translations in my paper and book. That's how you do scholarly paper. In scholarly paper, you give only Sanskrit. You don't take other people's translations.
Okay. So are you saying that you can't understand it unless you read certain translations, right?
No. What I'm saying is that first of all, for most of the Puranas, there is no translation available. There's no translation available. There's translation available for Vishnu Purana and for Bhagavad Purana. And for Vishnu Purana and other Puranas, there is no word by word translation available. That's the only translation I like to use, word by word translation, so that we can see if each word has been correctly translated, has been correctly represented. So
what do you mean there's no word by word translation? How did they translate it if not word by word?
No, yeah, I mean, there's demonstrating the definition of each word. That's what he means.
Or translated word for each
Yeah,
word.
and you actually show the definition of each word, the synonym English word and then the Sanskrit word, not just the whole verse. It gives every piece of information you need to analyze the text yourself. That's the point.
So you can honestly check if the person who's doing the job is not putting words in the mouth of the Sanskrit text.
So if I sent the Sanskrit text to any of these different Sanskrit translators I just found, are they going to come up with the same answer you did?
Definitely, give it to them. That's what peer review is. Peer review means that they have other scholars. They look at it and they study that whether I am honestly translating the text, whether I'm honestly presenting the evidence, and that they pass it, or they say, "Oh, go back and do some revisions."
What board did you submit to for your peer review process?
I submitted the paper has the Sanskrit verses, the translations, the analysis, and the dates from the modern science. And
but who reviewed it?
Where did you submit your paper?
European Journal of Science and Theology.
Well, what? I'm sorry. One more time.
European Journal of Science and Theology. In my link below the YouTube, I have a link to the paper. Also, you can read the paper itself if you want to read.
Is that an academic journal?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a genuine journal.
I just still didn't hear it. What was it?
European Journal of Science and Theology.
Okay.
You guys are really fun, by the way. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thanks for coming
absolutely.
on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Such a blast.
I like your suits.
I'm learning from James. He mentioned in one of the last debates that it looks nice to have a blazer on. I said, well, I don't hear James on this one.
Listening to James,
your
your first
style.
mistake.
Hey, you already complimented them, Tom. You can't take it back.
James is muted, and he doesn't realize it.
You look pretty cool, man. I think
Tom doesn't know that you guys can hear me.
Thank you. Yes, I normally come on with no pants. The pantless is the best.
Okay. I'll write that down in my notes right here.
For sure.
I taught
Gives you an
Tom
edge
that.
in the debate.
But yes.
So yeah, I think I've gone through all of the points that I thought were interesting. I think I represented my conclusion pretty well at the end. So I'm good to go to the Q&A if you guys are. If you guys want to have any more, bring up a conclusion or whatever, that'd be fine.
I just had one question back to the universe. Do you believe that the universe was created, or do you believe that it's eternal?
The universe is not eternal, but the cyclic nature, or I guess we don't like that word. The repetition of the event of the creation of the universe is an eternally repeated event.
So if you ask me a question, was there a universe before our universe? Yes, there was a universe before our universe, according to the Puranas.
Right, and eternally before that and after that.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it wasn't created.
The universe
No.
was created.
No, it was created as like, suppose you put ingredients of pizza in the oven. Now, was it made by the oven? No, there is somebody's putting the ingredients, somebody's arranging that.
He's wondering
No, that's
what the universe exists in.
Right.
Well, I
right.
think-
but you're
I think
saying
he's
that at
asking
some
which
point
was
that the
first.
ingredients-
I think he was asking which is first,
ingredients
Brahma
were
or the
created
universe.
at some point.
I didn't get that. Let Jim clarify. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
I was saying that these ingredients were created at some point. You can make as many pizzas as you want with the ingredients, but at some point, you're saying that somebody made the ingredients. Yet at the same time, you're saying that it's eternal. I mean that.
Can I give it a shot?
Well,
Yeah.
for any event, there can be two causes. There can be material cause and there can be an efficient cause. Like suppose you have a clay pot. Now for a clay pot, the material cause is the dirt, clay itself. And the efficient cause is the person who's potter, who's making the pot. Now, if you're asking for the universe, is there, is there an efficient cause? Yes, and that is, Prakriti or Brahma's, at least not Brahma, but it's Prakriti, which is another agent, another cosmic choreographer. And is there a material cause? There must be some material cause. That's what the scientists study.
So I think, let me give it a shot. So I think he's asking, did Brahma create the universe system out of nothing, or was there like the universe system and Brahma, or did the universe system exist before Brahma? Which was first? Was it the God who created the universes, or was there the universes that created the God?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, that actually we don't discuss this topic at all. According to the Puranic paradigm, God is in a place, in a situation where there is timelessness. So the universe has always been there, but it's eternal. And God somehow or other gets his agent to get these events to happen at a repeated time. And how do we find out? By, we don't trust the Puranas. The Puranas give date for the age of the universe, date for the origin of the sun, and date for the significant events. And when you see those dates which are given in the Puranas, when they line up exactly with the agents which are assigned by Krishna to organize the events, and when those dates exactly match, then any person, layman, can maybe have some faith in the Puranas. They are talking about something which is real.
So the first time that the universe was created, was there were universes that had already happened?
Well, I mean, maybe we could get back on the course about the point that we're actually trying to make here. And we can talk about these things too, as they're great questions. But again, it's a little bit of a red herring, because the point we're trying to make here is that
this is just a question that I was just adding in on the
It's
end.
the last question that we can cover, and we got to go into the Q&A.
Yeah, that could be a topic on another debate.
Well, so yeah, how do you feel about the impact, the case that we're making? Again, I'll repeat the case. The case is that because of the precision of the dates that's been found and the profound convergence of science and the Puranas on these dates, that it is reasonable. In fact, it should be done if by anybody who wants to know if there actually is a God, or if they are actually a non-material self, that they should check out the rigorous, or not rigorous, but the systematic process that's given in the Puranas for one to realize that truth themselves. Do you consider that
the consistency?
I do want to give, forgive me, Jim, for jumping in, but I do at some point, we do have to give somebody the last word. If we ask them a question, at some point we've got to give the last word in either direction. But given that you asked them a question, I want to interject and start jumping into the Q&A, because we do have a lot. So with that, want to say thanks so much, everybody, for your questions. We're jumping right into it. And thanks, guys, for your speeches and discussion. It's been fascinating to listen to. A lot of positive feedback in the chat. First question coming in from, you guessed it, Barry has a poop sticker. Thank you very much, Barry. Next, Barry says, according to my ancient book, we are in the sixth schleem on the eighth schmorp of the seventh fleamizzle. This is scientific proof that my book is true. Gotcha. I don't know if you guys actually care to respond to that. But,
Oh.
okay, next up, Andy M. Thank you. Andy M says, but you had to do a bunch of crazy math to make your numbers match with those that agree with science, including time flowing at different rates. How do you reconcile that?
Well, one, this is an accepted fact that if you were to go in different regions where the gravitational forces are, sort of like different from what we have on Earth, then the time may go at different paces. This is an understandable fact from modern science since 1900, since Einstein. In our phones currently, we have to have an adjustment for time moving at different paces because we get information from satellites, and satellites are way above Earth. So the gravitational pull is way different. So, and also we also know from Einstein's special theory of relativity and general theory of relativity that when something is going at a speed closer to light, time again changes. So this is something which is a amazing discovery done by Einstein. The space and time are malleable. Prior to him, they were thought to have been like static quantities. But Einstein proposed this, and modern science accepts this. That time and space are malleable. So this is not something. This is not a concept which is against the Puranic concept of time moving at different paces. Is not a heretic concept.
Gotcha, thanks so much. Next question in from Andy M. Oh, got that one. Barry has another question. Says, if I find an ancient book that correctly predicts the age of the universe down to the second and also claims that TJump is God, would you worship him?
If you can find a book which has Sanskrit, I'll take it.
Why does it need to be Sanskrit? Can't it be in any old language?
No.
Oh, sure. Pick any of the old, crazy languages. Sure, why not?
Next, thank you very much.
Really, I mean, that question, it's a little bit of a fallacious question, obviously. It's like a black and white kind of fallacy there. But anyway, if you found such a book, would you worship TJump if it said to worship TJump? No, and that's not what we're recommending necessarily with the Puranas either. We're just recommending that the knowledge in there should be reconsidered to such an extent that it would be worth trying the procedures given there for your desired goal. What goal would I get by worshiping TJump? Would that really be something that I would want to, what would be my attainment in that? So I think that's like super off track there. But anyway, nice try.
Gotcha. Next, jumping into, we've got a couple more questions. Michael Dresden with another troll chat skipping. Luis Romero, thanks for your question. Said, Sidharth, the European Journal of Science and Theology is oriented to the discussion of religious ideas instead of proper scientific research. Is your paper also available in a purely scientific research review or scientific peer review research journal?
Well, since my contribution is in the field of science and religion, a pure scientific journal won't be the right venue for such a publication. So I wish that the scientific journals had editors and researchers on board which can review Sanskrit texts.
Hi, you got it. Hi, Gwen. I promise I will come upstairs and play with you guys soon. Next, Barry, thanks for your question. Says the universe, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. Thank you, Barry. And switching into the standard question, Steven Sorensen asks, can you ask them how a correlation between Puranas and modern science means Krishna is real?
I don't think we claimed that, did we?
No, we didn't. I can explain it.
Okay.
Puranas and modern science. Okay, Gwen.
He's asking how does, because you want to say the claim that they're making is that they want us to take the Puranas more seriously. There's evidence that the Puranas got some facts right, therefore we should take the Puranas more seriously. They're not saying that we should therefore believe Krishna is a god. That's not the conclusion they're making. The conclusion they're making is that we should take the Puranas more seriously. That's the claim, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, in this debate, that's our particular claim that we're working with right now. But we also can go in that direction if you want to. We can talk about, the logical path that it would require to, validate the existence of Krishna if we want to do that.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for your question. This one coming in from Just a Walking Fish says, for the Pro Krishna crew, I unfortunately don't know much about your worldview as a scientific field. How does evolution fit within it?
We discussed this in my book, chapter 7 and chapter 8. And then I explained that the Puranas are actually giving dates for significant events in the evolutionary history of the Earth also. There is an event which coincides with Cambrian explosion. There is an event which coincides with permanent mass extinction. There's an event which coincides with Troasian extinction. So the Puranas are not antithetical to the idea of evolution on Earth.
You got it. Thanks so much. And before we move into our other questions, I want to say thanks so much. I can't say your, because Kickstarter asked me not to say your real names, but your name starts with an F, as in Frank. Thanks so much for joining our Kickstarter pledge. We are stoked, you guys. I want to show you really quick. This is just a
Was his
quick
name Frank?
intermission. It's it starts with an F, but it's not actually Frank. And it's F as in, oh no, let me get to the right. Well, we'll pull it up in a second. We are thrilled, though, that we're at about 70%, folks. So really do appreciate all of your help. And with that, jumping into the next question, Pepper Talks says, for the yes side, if they can't be perceived, then how can you confirm they're real?
That's because that's how we do in modern science, that there's a theory, and the theory that the model of any higher dimensional physics or like string theory, M theory, there are pieces of that which are testable and falsifiable. So there are these dates which are given in the Puranas which seem to stunningly match with the modern science. That's how you can test it. You can test the parts of it which are falsifiable, and other parts are unfalsifiable. However, I also make a claim that if you were to study the Puranas and follow the process, then the Puranas themselves, the Puranic sages themselves claim that you can actually test the further claims also. The Puranas don't ask you to have a blind belief in Krishna. They ask you to try the process, and by trying the process, they want you to yourself, have an experience of Krishna. So it's not a blind believing in Krishna, but it's having like a scientific mind, the idea of doing an experiment. So the Puranas invite you to do the experiment on your consciousness through sound, which means through chanting of the mantras and particularly reading of the Puranas.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. And I think Jim's going to, yep, Jim just came back. So Jim is back, just in case anybody's confused. I'll work on rearranging the camera. And Fran Wilson, thanks for your question, said, for the yes side, what citations can you give that are not from hereticscience.com?
Citations for the paper. In my paper, I talk about, for the Puranic units, I cite scholars, beginning from H.H. Wilson, who was one of the first British or Western scholar of the Puranas, right up to 1980s and 2000. We have about maybe 10 scholars who have studied the Puranas, and they have same numbers for this Puranic time units. This introduction of factor of 2 and Pratisandhi, that's my noble contribution. Otherwise, practically everything else has been supported by tons of scientists. Rocher, H.H. Wilson, there's many more. It's in the paper, you can read. In the scholarly paper, they're there.
You got it, and thank you, Randolph Richardson. Thanks so much for your huge support and flexibility. He says, does ham and pineapple pizza disrupt the order of the universe? Are you guys into pineapple on pizza?
No.
Absolutely.
No.
Really? Is that Noah or is that Jim? No, Jim says yes. Tom says no. Noah and Sidharth, what about you guys?
Why not,
Why not? Yeah.
Wow. Open-minded fellows. I appreciate that. But that is all we have for our questions. We're going to be back with a post-credit scene in just a moment, you guys. We are very excited about that. As you're seeing on the screen, that is, as I had mentioned, for this Kickstarter, we're determined. We're crazy, folks. I don't care if me, Steven Steen, and TJump have to go out and do a car wash in January. We're going to hit our goal. Believe me. You'll see there, that's a picture from our last car wash over the weekend. Very intense. You'll see there. I mean, Steven, he always insists on wearing the Speedo every time. Nasty guy. And then you'll see Tom in his pirate costume. But anyway, we are excited there. Tom, I don't know if you saw that picture yet, but we are excited and want to say thanks so much, folks. We will be back in just a moment with that post-credit scene, but want to say our guests are linked in the description. So Sidharth, Noah, TJump, and Jim Majors are all linked in the description. So if you'd like to hear more, you can hear more at those links. And just want to give a huge thank you to our guests. Thank you guys so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Been a
Thanks.
pleasure. Thank you, James. And thank you, Jump. And thank you, Jim.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
A true pleasure. And so
James,
with that,
Jump, and Jim.
that's right.
Absolutely, man.
We will be right back in a moment, folks. But as mentioned, thanks so much for your support, you guys. I'm excited. We've got big updates that'll be back within a moment. And with that, be right back.
Yeah. I'm not dying. Get out of here. We're dancing in the street. There's nothing left to eat. We're on a winning streak, going out in style. I hear you. I'm not dead yet. Get out of here. Yeah. Break out the hand grenades.
Stoked, you guys. Thanks so much. I am pumped, you guys. This always just puts me in a great, great mood. I have a few announcements I want to say. First, I'm like overwhelmed with, I just thank you guys so much for being so positive, being supportive. I am pumped for several reasons. One, I'm just overwhelmed with how positive and supportive people have been. Really do appreciate that. That means so much, you guys, in the live chat and everything. Just also, though, super encourage you guys. At basically during the show, we had several new people pledge to the Kickstarter, and this is just epic, you guys. I am so thrilled as we are. I'm just determined, you guys. We are absolutely, I have no doubt in my mind, we're going to make our goal. So if you want to watch this debate between the legendary heavyweight debater Dr. Michael Shermer, pictured on your right, and heavyweight debater Mike Jones from the YouTube channel Inspiring Philosophy, they're going to debate whether or not Christianity is dangerous. And it is going to be epic, you guys. You won't want to miss this. We have only 9 days left until this thing goes off. In other words, in fact, so technically it's 10 days, but the Kickstarter campaign closes the day before. And so I want to encourage you, there's only 9 more days to sign up, you guys. It's coming fast. So I want to encourage you to sign up at that Kickstarter link, which is in the description, in which I can throw right now in the live chat as well. If you have not already, want to highly encourage you to sign up for it, you guys. I am so excited as I'm like, we're going to make this goal. It's going to be absolutely epic. So that is, now I'm going to put it at the top of the live chat. And do appreciate your guys' support. Really, seriously, it means a lot. And I was just so pumped as like during the debate, several people signed up, which is cool. You can sign up right now, you guys, as we're hanging out, as I'm going to be here just sharing a few things that I think are cool about this. One, this is going to open up doors, folks. I'm serious. I seriously believe this strategy is going to work because it's like, hey, what makes it more easy and more cool? It's like if you can see awesome debates, and even if you don't like this one, even if you're like, I'm not really into these debaters as much. In fact, we've gotten like pushback against, and I think it's inevitable. Well, no matter who the debaters are, we could get Jordan Peterson against Sam Harris, and some people will say, oh, it's a dumb debate. And it's like, whatever. Nobody's forcing you to join the Kickstarter, but we were saying, hey, we do want to use this for not just this debate, but if it goes well, which we absolutely believe it will, we want to use this over the summer. Once the restrictions start lifting, we want to start using this for big time debates, folks. We're talking big time speakers like Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Sam Cedar, David Packman. We want to start inviting these new guests that we've never had on before, and we want to start doing it in in-person venues when the restrictions are up, just because we really do believe that makes for a much higher quality debate. I think that you're going to love it, and you can see the best in terms of the most views and the most watch time. Our most popular video, not surprisingly, was in person. It was IP, the gentleman that you're seeing on your left right here, Mike Jones, in other words. It was Mike Jones against Matt Dillahunty. It's got like 211,000 views. I was looking at it today. And that was in person, and it was at the Atheist Experience Studio, which we'd like to go back to. That's the kind of stuff we want to do with these types of Kickstarter events, is fund the travel for those types of debates, as well as the speaker fees or the honorariums for our guests. And so a couple of things I want to mention though, but first, well, let me just say hi in the chat. So sorry guys, I'm just like babbling on and on. But want to say thanks, Lily Aja, thanks so much for your support in the chat. Dave Langer said we had 10 people rocking the Twitch chat too. That chat is also growing. That is really cool. I'm pumped to hear that, Dave Langer. We actually, one thing that I have found is a challenge that I got to get your advice on in a second, is that I just learned yesterday Twitch doesn't like it if you simultaneously stream on Twitch and another platform. So I got to figure out a way to handle that. You know, they're like, we might have to be creative. Maybe one day a week we would only do it on Twitch or something. I don't know, but we'll find out. And then next, Blaster Master 80 says, thanks for everything, James. That means a lot. I totally appreciate that, Blaster. I seriously appreciate your positivity. James Bond says, that's because you're a nice guy, James. Appreciate that. Seriously, does mean a lot to have positive people here. It's like, you know, sometimes the internet is like, man, so many haters. It's like, why are you like nobody like forces you to hang out here. But I focus on the positive people, and I thank the positive people, and so I just want you guys to know you guys make up for, and more, you guys make up for the people that are negative. And so Theo Fungi said, you always bring it. Thanks for, I appreciate that, Theo Fungi. That means a lot. RFFEFCE says, we want more Hinduism debates. Oh, we can totally do that. Appreciate that. And SlamRN, thanks so much for your support. Let's see here. But one thing I really like about Kickstarter, and I hope they still have this feature, because I know that, for example, Twitch is no longer going to have the feature where you can sign in with your Facebook. Even though it's really convenient, but they want you to set up your own Twitch account. Kickstarter doesn't make you do that. One thing I love is that Kickstarter is like, want to make your pledge, just sign in through Facebook, and you don't even have to create like a Kickstarter account. You can do that, which is, I think it's awesome. So that's really cool. And again, you guys will never, only if the debate happens would you be charged. I guarantee you, if the debate for some reason didn't happen, like let's say for whatever reason there's an emergency or something, and a debater says, no, I'll never come on moderated debate. We've never had that, but nobody's credit card would get charged. I guarantee you that. And so, interestingly, if we don't meet our target goal, your credit card will also not be charged. So like, even if the debaters were suddenly like let's say it was like no cost at all, and let's say we had no costs, whether it be promotion or whatever else, speaker fees, like is that people only get charged on Kickstarter if the campaign meets its goal, which believe me, I'm determined, but I just want you to know that it's zero risk for you guys, and that's why I like it, is that it's like, we don't want you guys to have to worry about somebody trying to bilk you out of your money. So let's see. Fran Wilson says, will the link for the Kickstarter debate be emailed? Well, actually, the way that it works is, I found out yesterday, I can I message you. If you sign up to the Kickstarter, what I'll do is the day, probably either the day of or the day before, I've got to figure out how we're going to do this exactly, but I can send you a message through Kickstarter. So you'll want to check your Kickstarter. I think it sends you either a notification through Facebook or Kickstarter itself if you sign into Kickstarter using your Facebook account. Kickstarter is where I'll send you the message. And let me actually, Fran, if so, I would love to do a test on that. I don't want to like make someone know. I don't want them to be like, I don't want them to feel, what's the word? Hopefully you guys can't hear that screaming. Like I'm staying at my buddy's right now. And they have kids. They're awesome kids, but sometimes they're sad and crying. They don't. I don't know. It could be anything. But anyway, I hope they're doing okay. Their parents are up there, so they're okay. But basically, the long story short of it is if anybody, let's see. Fran Wilson says, please continue to stream. I am 100%. And Fran Wilson, can you, if you or anyone you know happens to be a part of the Kickstarter pledging people, can you let me know if you just received a message on Kickstarter? Because right now on Kickstarter, I can like try to say like, hey, can you see this message? And if you sign into Kickstarter, you can let me know if you see the message, because that's something I haven't tested before, and now is a perfect opportunity. And John W. says, I am 30 and so out of it. Join the club, John. I'm 30. I'm going to turn 34 in like 5 days, and it's shocking. It's frightening. I'm honestly just like, oh my gosh. I can't believe it, you guys. Someone said Pac-Man has been eating a lot of bread lately. I don't get it. Please tell me that's not like a dirty joke or something. Does he like bread? More power to him. I like bread. Let's see. But let's see. James Bond says Matt Dillahunty is a champion. Dillahunty is a very good debater, and we are thrilled to have him on. And David Langer says David Pacman versus Jesse Lee Peterson. David Langer, have you seen? I don't know if you knew this, but yeah, they already debated, and it was like it got pretty. I don't think that Jesse Lee Peterson is a fan of David Pacman. I hope that they become friends, but let's see. Dave Langer says technically you can be an affiliate on Twitch, but they don't tend to ding affiliates too much. That is more for partners. Getting to affiliate would be good just to be able to get those subs. That would be rad, Dave Langer. I appreciate you letting me know that. Maybe we can do it and they won't ever notice. So, Fran Wilson says, oh, we got that already. And then, don't have to watch on Twitch during the debate to give you... Okay, Dave Langer says, people don't have to watch on Twitch during the debate to give you a free Amazon sub. Even if you are not live, people can still sub to you. That's great to know. I appreciate that. GB says, do I get a signed photo if I become a patron? That's funny. You get a signed photo of Danny Tanner signed by me. Okay, that's what you get. Oh, that's funny. Danny Tanner, like Full House, but that's, I mean, I don't know. I thought nobody would ever really want a signed photo of me, but maybe if people wanted that. I don't know why you'd want it, but I'm flattered if you appreciate you humoring me. And then Fran Wilson, the debate won't be on Twitch. It's going to be on like a website. So Modern Day Debate, I'm talking to a tech person about where we're going to have it like on our own website, and so it's going to be secure, because that's a big thing, is like we want to be big on fairness. What does that mean? It's like, well, if you sign up for the Kickstarter, then we think it's fair that like you've pledged, and so you should get to watch it live. And likewise, we don't want people like watching it live when they were like, oh, screw your Kickstarter, James. And it's like, it's okay if they say screw our Kickstarter, but if they're also like watching it live, it's like, I was like, you're kind of trying to screwing us, right? So we do want to keep it so that it is secure, and so we will be giving everybody their personal link through Kickstarter, and that'll go to, like I said, it'll basically be our own little website that has like a video embedded, so you can watch it live there. And then yeah, possibly we could do it on Zoom, but I think we'll do it on YouTube because we do want to make it look like very sharp and presentable. Let's see. And then, so sorry if I'm like slow on the chat. It's moving fast. So, do I get a, okay, if we watch, let's see. And then I do, oh, we did open a second batch of early bird questions. So if you want to ask a question for this debate, and basically, if you know that you'll want to ask one, and you're like, well, even if, maybe you're like, I don't know what I'll ask, but I mean, I just really am excited about this event. So it's like $15 if you do it early. So I think in the last week, that's when we might say like, hey, if it's the last week leading up to the debate, it might be like $20 a question, or I don't know, maybe 24. But in the meantime, I think it's like $15 for the early bird questions, and we're kind of like feeling it out. Maybe we'll do a survey after this whole thing is done and figure out like what you guys thought was like, what were good rewards, what were rewards that just didn't really seem that cool of an idea. And James W says soy-based vegan bread. I guess I can share my soy-based vegan bread. That's maybe. Lily Aja says Twitch is linked here. Appreciate that, Lily Aja. And then thanks Ansi Sorvisto, who says just pledged. Hope this happens. Can't support more though. I appreciate your support at all. Seriously, it does mean a lot. And I hope it's of value to you guys, because we were like, when I did this, I remember this is like, I don't know, this had to be like maybe November or October. I was talking to my buddy Andy, and I said, what would be like a good enough deal financially that like even the cheapest people in the world, and my buddy Andy, he's really cheap, like me. But I was like, what would be the price that the most frugal person would be like, yeah, I'll do that. We know that different people have different circumstances, so I don't mean that in an insult to say if you're frugal. But Andy and I were like, yeah, it's like $3. I think is like a pretty, hopefully everybody can handle that. A price of a cup of coffee, going to Starbucks. And Tuss Beatbox says, can I get the car wash photo signed by you? That's really funny. You got a good sense of humor. Tuss, I appreciate it. You were like one of the most supportive people at this channel. I just love your positivity. That really does mean a lot. And I think that influences the culture, guys. Is that the more I want to encourage it, and I think the more that people see the positivity from other people in the live chat, and hopefully I can be positive. Thanks RFFEFCE says, thanks for your channel, James. Thank you for hanging out with us. It means a lot. Is that the more that we're positive, I think it influences the culture. I've definitely noticed an uptick, and you definitely like more positivity. And so I do appreciate people like you, Tuss, and others who have been super positive, which definitely helps bring it on. So it helps increase it. And Michael, the Canadian atheist, said, tonight was fun. Thanks, James. Appreciate that, Michael. That means a lot. I'm glad you had fun. I did, too. It was a blast. And then, let's see. Thanks for your super chat. Just flew in from Ben Miller, said, just because a few dates can be made to line up is absolutely irrelevant. The fields of science should lead to Hinduism on their own, and they don't. Oh, I see. I'm so sorry. They might be behind in the stream. Like, they might have just started watching, and maybe they, like, pushed the back button to where it brought them to earlier in the debate, but I still read it. There's just nobody here to answer it. So I do appreciate your support that way, Ben Miller. And then let's see here. Where is this little James Bond? Appreciate your kind words. That means a lot. Appreciate it. And then GB says, just a bit of British humor. You're a legend, though. Keep up the good work. Oh, did I miss your... I can't remember. I forgot. What did you say earlier? So sorry, I'm behind. Oh, you said you need Jesus. Only $19.99 for a limited time. Oh, I get it. I know this sounds like an infomercial when we're trying to, like, I'm talking about the... I'm sorry, guys. It's a combination of two things. One, I'm excited about it. Like, I really am. I'm just like, you guys, I've got a dream. Like, I'm really... Oh, Fran Wilson. Thanks for letting me know you got a message. That is so encouraging. I'm curious, Fran, if you're willing to share, did you use Facebook to sign up, or did you use like normal? I don't know if it makes a difference. I've got to find a friend or use my own Facebook or something and do a pledge and see if it shows that you got a message if you use the Facebook. If you use the Facebook method of bypassing creating a Kickstarter account, I would think that you'd get a message either way. I think that you, by signing in with Facebook, you kind of have a Kickstarter account. You just don't have to fill in all the details that other people might. But yes, thanks so much. And then let's see. Tuss Beatbox, thanks so much. Says I pledged tonight through Kickstarter, not through Facebook, and I didn't get a message. Oh, don't worry, Tuss, that's okay. I only sent it to like 1 or 2 people. So that one, don't worry, I appreciate that. And then Slamoran says only 123 upvotes. Thanks, Slam. Mine says 144, but I might be wrong about that. So, John W., thanks for your kind words. Said, I am so simple. I just love you, man. Killer channel. Thanks so much, John W. This seriously means a lot. And thanks, Randolph, for saying hello. Glad you're still here. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Adam Elbilia says, can I get a photo of you signing a photo of you? Now that's an idea. That's a funny idea. I'm trying to, it's very meta. And then Dave Langer says, Barry on Twitch once gets affiliate. They're saying once we get affiliate, he'll have access to emotes. James should do an emote of his face. That would be awesome. And Lily Aja says, yep, $3 is pretty much perfect. It's what I'm willing to pay for a lot of memberships to specific channels as well. Here's the trick. I love that it is cheap. And it's also, thanks so much, Barry. And then, yeah, it's like, I can't, here's the thing. I want to keep it at $3. I don't know exactly how it's going to work in the future when we get to these big debates. So, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe you guys don't even think it's worth it, and you're like, maybe we shouldn't even do it. We should, because a lot of like YouTubers are happy to debate for like reasonable amounts of money. But it's true that like, you guys aren't even going to believe me, but I'm telling you, I know this from experience. A friend of mine reached out to Sam Harris about a debate, and Sam Harris, and I'm not trying to be mean, or I'm not saying this is unreasonable, because they're super busy people. When I say reasonable, I mean something that fits our budget. Friend reached out to Sam Harris, and Sam Harris said it was $25,000 for him to do a debate. The rumor is Ben Shapiro is $50,000. I don't know if that's true. I'm a little bit like, really? Like, it's like more than I expect. But I know this though. Philosophers, when I was at Mankato State getting my bachelor's in philosophy, a lot of my professors, the university, the department would hire philosophers to come in and speak. And these weren't just any philosophers, like these were really good ones. So like Peter Sanger, I mean everybody's heard of Peter Sanger if you're familiar with philosophy. He asked for $20,000, and to his credit, he donated I think maybe all of it to like Oxfam. So it went to a good cause, but it was still $20,000 if you wanted to get him to come speak. We'll never have a debate with Peter Sanger. It's not that I don't like him. It's not that I don't think he's worth it. In fact, I'm kind of like, since it would go to a good cause, I'm kind of tempted. I think that would be a great idea. Maybe we will. But the point is, if we did $20,000 for an honorarium, and that's just the honorarium, so imagine the facility cost, but let's say we just did the $20,000 and someone was kind enough to give us a facility for free. $20,000 divided by 3 would mean that we would, okay, so it's not that unrealistic. We would need 6,667 people to sign up, which we actually have more than that in terms of subscribers. So maybe that's possible. I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how many people sign up for each of these. Bob Nameholder said, hey James, if you're reading the chat, I want to say thank you for the channel. You make my work days more bearable, and it's nice to have something to talk about. Thanks so much. That seriously means a lot, Bob. I'm super encouraged to hear that. That's just super encouraging and like meaningful for me to hear. And Randolph Richardson, I have to give huge credit. Randolph was a really good sport because I asked him if I could switch. Fran Wilson, thanks for letting me know that you use Facebook and you still got a message through Kickstarter. So Tuss, if you're still out there, I'm like curious if I can send you a message. And I would imagine it's the same, but I just want to know because I'm always a little bit, what's the word? I'm always like wanting to be like double check and just be extra careful. Also, thank you so much for signing up. Your name starts with a B. Appreciate that. And thanks so much for your generous pledge from person with name starting with an A. Really appreciate that. And a person who starts with a T and a person starts with an A. Thank you so much for pledging. I really do appreciate it. That means a lot. Basically, I am pumped, as that means a lot for your guys' support, seriously. And I was saying Randolph was so flexible. He was so kind. He was so kind that he... Oh wow, that's a lot of likes, 166. That's really cool. I'm just so appreciative that you guys are like willing to like hang out with me, both for fun and also given that it's like an infomercial when I do this at the end. I think Adam said that yesterday or the other day. That was funny. Ed Luckenbill said, James, you had some good ones. I think Tom is undefeated. Keep up the great work. He has made the lockdown so much easier has made the lockdown so much easier with greater entertainment. Thanks so much. I really do appreciate that, Ed. That means a lot. I'm so glad to hear that. That's been like one of the encouraging things is I got a letter. I wish I knew, but I have the letter pinned on my desk at my office back in Colorado, and I'm in Wisconsin. It was a young man, I think his name is Danny, and he said that this like channel has been like a community for him, especially during the lockdown. I got it back in like October, and I was like so encouraged. I was like, wow, that is the nicest thing, because I don't know if I still put my P.O. box in the description, but I used to put it, but that was like the only letter I got, which was like super encouraging. Doesn't mean anybody has to send a letter. Your encouragement and positivity in the live chat means a ton. So I just, when people tell me that, whether it be Ed in this case, or I think it was Dan, in the other case, it's just really what I wanted. As I always said, like I want this to feel like a community. You know what I mean? And so, let's see. One thing I'm gonna try right now is Tuss is like, oh hey, what's up? I'm sending a message right now to Tuss. I mean, to someone whose name starts with a T on Kickstarter. But for real, I really do want to respect your guys' privacy, because I'm tempted. A lot of times I want to say like, hey, Benjamin Franklin, thanks so much for signing up for Kickstarter, but I also want to respect your guys' privacy. So, let's see. Oh, Randolph Richardson said it's a good idea though to consider not using Facebook to log into accounts, because if you do that, in any case, whether it be Kickstarter or like Twitch or whatever, or eBay, I don't know if eBay lets you, but because the challenge is if your Facebook account gets disrupted or disabled, you won't be able to log into any of those secondary accounts either. That's a good point. I never thought about that. And then John Smith says, apologies, I can't help monetarily, but I would love to. I am in a situation in which doing so might put me at risk. I really appreciate the availability of these debates currently. Thanks so much, John. I totally understand. And that's something I want to say that in some cases, some people are saying, hey, like in my country, I don't think we have Kickstarter. And so I'm sorry, whatever the circumstances that makes it hard right now, or to where you're not able to give at the moment. We do want to say we appreciate your support just by being at Modern Day Debate, just by hanging out with us here really does mean a lot. And Ansi Servisto got your joke there. I can pass the eating task for the next month. That's funny. And then let's see. Fran Wilson, civility is important if we wish to discuss anything. I agree. And then Dave Langer, that's right. My OnlyFans is $3 a month. That's funny. I desperately want to offer a signed photo of Danny Tanner from Full House, signed by me. That would be like the greatest reward ever. So, Do appreciate that. And then let's see. Oh wow. Ben Shapiro is like $75,000 for 5 minutes of him playing the violin. Whoa. So then he probably does cost a ton of money for a debate. Fran Wilson says, I use Facebook. Oh, that's good to know that people get messages then whether or not they're using Facebook or if they are using the normal way to sign in. Dave Langer says, if you were renting out a venue, they would have to buy tickets, or is that for free? Is that free for them? Oh, that's a good idea. We could sell tickets if we rent a venue. That makes sense. Once the restrictions, the COVID restrictions are gone, which I think this summer we'll be able to do it. Theo Fungi says, we pay more for boring, repetitive cable channels, $3 for the greatest debates, learning subjects from people that know their stuff, plus the bonus of a great chat box crew. Bargain. Thanks for that, Theo Fungi. I really do appreciate that. I am so glad to hear that. Barry, nice try with the updog joke. I invented those jokes, Barry. Tuss Beatbox says she got her message. Somebody whose name starts with a T said they did. Thanks for that feedback, T. And then, let's see. John Smith says, it means a lot to me how your channel provides a safe space for people who are in difficult situations. I would love to support this channel if I were able to. Appreciate that, John. Seriously, just hearing that really does mean a lot. You have no idea. Honestly, it's really special. So, Randolph says, today's debate was very interesting. You had all the right people on. Randolph, I don't know if I mentioned, folks, I totally appreciate that. Randolph was incredibly flexible today in basically being willing to, so I could see my family and friends while I'm in Wisconsin for this short time, because I'm only here for like another week or so. And Randolph was kind enough to basically say he let me reschedule him for a debate on another day so that I could see family tomorrow. So I do appreciate that big time, Randolph. He says, the work you do running these debates is an important contribution to future progress. You're promoting what I can call the free exchange of ideas. Thank you so much. Randolph, that means a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you. And Thanlin101 says, bird is the word. I could not agree more. Thank you. And let's see here. I'm like getting used to scrolling through the live chat. It's like, next, Dave Langer says, did you see the documentary about the first Danny Tanner who didn't work out past the pilot because he was super creepy? You should check it out. Oh my gosh, are you serious? That's hilarious. Let me Google that. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Danny Tanner episode 1. John Posey versus Bob Saget. The very weird version of Full House no one ever saw on Nerdastalgic. That is so funny. If that's just hilarious. John Posey, you're right. Unaired pilot with the John Posey. This is funny. Hold on a second. You guys have to hear this. This is important. I'm like, nobody's as big a fan. We're gonna get hit with a copyright infringement. There it goes. Now what have I done? Okay, so basically, I'm a huge Full House fan though, and I'm gonna watch that episode later. I'm so glad that I get to play it. Or get to watch it later. So thank you for that. Thank you so much, Larry Letts, who says I'll be supporting the Kickstarter tomorrow. Payment issues tonight. Well, thanks, Larry, for supporting it. I really do appreciate it. I'm pumped for it. And we're really big on reinvesting into the channel, so doing it in terms of promoting this event, we want to make the channel bigger, because the bigger we are, the bigger subscriber base. If we have 50,000, so it's like, we're not too far. It's like, what? I think it's like 12,000 away. If we had 50,000 people, like that's a lot more people where we could say, hey, everybody, are you in? And the more people we have doing these Kickstarters, the cheaper the price can stay. And so it is like, that is kind of the benefit of promoting these events, is that it can kind of give us an idea of how we can kind of spread the risk, so to speak, or the cost of these bigger honorariums for people. Just Jay said, it's nice of you to spend more of your time with us like this. You seem like a genuinely nice person. I wish you all kinds of YouTube success. Thanks, Just Jay. I really do appreciate that. I do love doing this. Like, this is something that I started doing, like, it was like, I don't know, do you guys remember? I think it was like a month ago, maybe a month and a half. It was like where I would start doing it just for fun, usually on a Saturday night, because I don't have to worry about like doing homework or grading or whatever. But I do appreciate this, and so it's been fun to get to do this. Now I'm on break. My life is so much easier. It's insane. The grad school experience is honestly, sometimes it's unbelievably exhausting, but you know what? It's good for me. I like the challenge. I do enjoy it. And like now I'm on vacation kind of, so it's like, it's super nice. I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm not ready to go back yet. but I do like it. I do love it. I do enjoy it. Tuss Beatbox says, do you play any instruments, James? I do not. I seriously, I'm not joking, you guys. I think that I am like the last person in terms of musical ability that you'd ever want to experience. It's pretty bad. Like, I'm not joking. I took a ballroom dance class back when I was in college, and it was terrible. It's so bad. I can't recognize a beat really good. And I know, like, there is like it's almost like in the book Peak by Anders Ericsson, he's like the leading expert on like experts. Yeah. And he talks about how a lot of people say that they're just musically totally ungifted, but it's like, it's really rare for somebody to not be able to pick up the beat of a song. I think I might really be that. I mean, I'm telling you, I went through a whole dance class, and it's hard for me. I'm like, I just can't recognize it in the song. I really do think there's something. I might be one of those people. I love music though. I like to listen to it. Like, I know what I like it to like listen to. But I usually, to be honest, I usually listen to like lectures and debates. Usually lectures, or sometimes talk shows, like psychology stuff. So I don't know if I like music as much as the average person. I wish I could, because I feel like I'm supposed to. Sawzale 555523. Thanks for your question. Says, have you spoken live or privately with Noam Chomsky? I haven't, but we'd obviously be stoked to have him on. Especially if it was against Thomas Sowell. That would be like one of the... If anybody has a connection with Thomas Sowell, let me know, because that would be epic to have Thomas Sowell on. Like Thomas Sowell against, let's say, Professor David Wolf. Now we're talking. That would be an epic event. Fran Wilson says, what was the favorite subject in philosophy? Man, okay, so I definitely love philosophy of religion. Kind of the arguments for and against God's existence are really fun. I would say epistemology was fun. I'm trying to think of some of the issues from epistemology that I liked the most. If anybody's ever heard of like this idea of epistemic kind of relativism and the quandary of trying to get out of it, that's like an interesting idea. But I mean, so one thing though I think is interesting too is like the intersection of like philosophy and psychology. So like, for example, can we willfully change our beliefs? And most people, especially in the like, not all, but like most atheists that I run into on the internet at least would say no. But most atheists that I've met at the university, like professors, would say, well, it depends, which is usually the answer in like any academic field, is that if you mean to change it like willfully in the moment, like where I just like, I'm going to will for myself to believe the earth is flat. Like, sorry if anybody's a flat earther, I'm a globie. Is if I said, I'm going to will for myself right now, I'm just going to purposely believe that the earth is flat. Like, try it really hard, that won't work. But indirectly, could I change my beliefs, or at least my probability? I think you can, by reading different materials that argue for a flat earth, where you might say like, oh, I thought that this was like this, there are some things that I'm sure you think like this for sure, there's no way the flat earth could explain this, and you're like, oh, I guess they have an explanation for that. But there's you have a trillion other objections, so you don't automatically become a flat earther. So, but the terms for this would be, there's doxastic voluntarism and doxastic involuntarism. Doxastic voluntarism, the idea of, or I'm sorry, there's direct and indirect doxastic voluntarism. It's been a while since I've read some of this. But doxastic voluntarism just means, can you purposely change your beliefs? Directly, no. Like, I can't focus really hard and just willfully change my beliefs. But indirectly, I probably can at least change my probability about things. So, like, if I give the flat Earth, like, a 1% probability or something, I could read flat Earth materials that, like, might bump it up to a 2% or 3%. And I keep reading the materials over and over and over. Who knows how far I can go? And there's also research, a lot of people don't know this. In psychology, there is research on something called the illusory truth effect. Is that the idea is, we know from research that if you read something over and over, it will actually influence your belief to make you believe in that thing more. So even if you are told it's fake, even if you're told this isn't a credible source, if you read it over and over, the research shows that you actually will believe it more. So those are like interesting things for me though. Like, I like psychology, obviously, so that's like, anyway, a huge long answer to your, your short question. Thanks for your patience. David Neff, so stoked to have you here. Let's see. Catching up with the chat. Then Fran Wilson says, thanks for the after show chat. I really like it. Thank you, Fran. Appreciate that. It's fun to hang out with you guys. And then James W. said, have you ever heard of Mr. Batman Sing? I still have PTSD from the last time he was on Smokey's channel. Maybe you can do some therapy for your PhD. That's funny. I wish that was the type of therapy that I did. I don't, but that's so, oh, I bet it's great. I would love to hear him singing. David P. Neff, stoked to see you as well. So glad you made it, friend. And then Just Jay says, so what's the deal with Darth Dawkins? Are we ever going to get another Florida man debate? I miss the, quote, holy frog and his glorious ribbit. Holy frog and his glorious ribbit? Oh, Florida man. It's been so long since we've had it. I saw him the other day when I was scrolling through the debate library that we have on the channel, and I was like, wow, it's been a while. Darth Dawkins, I don't think wants to come back. I actually reached out to him today to see if he wants to come back, because we're trying to line up a ton of like huge debates the first week of 2021, and I would like Darth Dawkins to participate, but I don't think he will. Fran Wilson says, Mina V has a great idea. Include philosophical tutorials, logical thing. Or you mean logical thinking? You mean me provide the tutorials? I would love to. I think a lot of people don't know that, like, I don't know, maybe you do, but like a lot of, not a lot, some of the areas that are debated on this channel, like, I studied, like, including formally, but also informally, but formally, like, to the master's level. Like, I got a master's in philosophy and psychology each, and so I've been in school for a long time. I don't know if I'd recommend it. I like it, and I think it'll turn out, but I would just recommend, you know, there are pros and cons. You know, you gotta count your, enjoy the blessings you have, look at the positives that you have. It's true that, you know, school also comes with, for some of us, for me it came with some debt, but that's alright. You know, you pay it off and you'll be alright. And that, I mean, like in the US, I heard a great quote from Elon Musk today. It's like, it's pretty hard to starve in the US. Like, if you go after your dreams and things go terribly wrong and you end up at a soup kitchen or something, like, at least you went for it. And so, yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed the risk of school. David P. Neff says, question for you, are you a young earth creationist? James W., well, I meant for modern day debate. I'm more agnostic on the origin stuff. I mean, if you pushed me, I'd probably lean toward some old earth variation of agnosticism. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't know what the answer is. I think that for me, I would like to be of the mindset such that my my fear of what other people think would be so strong that I would be willing to believe in anything that I believed was sincerely true. I think a lot of times people, not all, so I'm not trying to throw poop in everybody's face, but I think a lot of times people will like say they believe in a lot of things or don't believe in certain things because they think that, I think a lot of times their beliefs are governed much more by what they think other people would think is acceptable than they're willing to admit to themselves. And for me, like, I was thinking about it earlier today, and I was like, one thing I like is that you could say it's a correlate of people who believe in strange things, or by strange I just mean statistically like less common things in terms of, it's true, there aren't I don't know, I don't know what the stats are. I think, let's say for example, like flat earth, I know it's not the same thing as young earth creation, but when it comes to that, you have to admit that those people, it seems, don't care what other people think regarding their own beliefs, right? So that's you could say like a psychological trait that correlates with flat earth. Because if you're a flat earther and you're willing to tell people, it seems pretty clear that you don't care if other people think that you're a dummy or whatever else. And that trait, not per se flat earth belief, but the trait of saying, I believe what I believe, I don't care if people ridicule me, is, I think, a strong and good trait. But yeah, even though I kind of lean toward, but I lean toward, very strongly toward a globe Earth. But I have to admit that for flat earthers, that's something that I appreciate, that they're not afraid of people calling them all sorts of things. David P. Neff says, would love to be back on your channel sometime. That'd be fun, David. I appreciate that. That was a fun time having you on. I remember I was just looking at your debate. I think it was Kent Hovind, right? I think I was looking at that debate the other day. And Lily Aja says, James Tinney. I like Destiny a lot. I was thinking about that today, is that Destiny, I'd be willing to go to bat for that guy, because Destiny has always been really helpful with our channel. He's been really supportive and positive. He's never asked for a thing. Destiny is a very generous person to this channel, and so I was thinking about it today. I don't agree with everything in terms of what Destiny's views are. I don't like have anything that, so like, despite not agreeing with him on everything, I think I'd go to bat for Destiny because I've just had really good experiences with him. I don't say that I know everything about him, but the ones I've had have been good. Worldview Detective says, any debates that changed your mind on a given issue? Great question. That's super interesting. Yeah, actually, I think that I've at least been like, because, I always think of it as like, your beliefs are all on a spectrum, and so it's not binary. I don't think of it as like I believe in this or I don't. It's usually like, how much do I believe in this? And it's like, well, maybe I'm at a credence or a probability of like, I give it a 90% probability, like a 0.9 on a scale of 0 to 1. And I might say, well, I also, though, maybe I believe in something at a level of 0.4, and I watch a debate and it bumps me up to like a 0.55, and I was like, yeah, I think I've had that happen, where it's usually like the arguments, it's usually more of, there's just so much out there that you can, that's right, David P. Neff, I remember it was against Mr. Kent Hovind, yeah. There's so much that you can learn, that it's like, how much should I change my belief on this, because I haven't studied it that much. And there's, beware the old phrase, beware the sound of one hand clapping. It's like, well, there's a rebuttal to this, but the rebuttal to this, how do I know that there's not another rebuttal out there? There's a lot to read. One of the things that going through academia has made me a lot more quiet in terms of what I believe, or in terms of, how do I say this? Having noticed how much is published out there in like any domain makes me realize like, oh my gosh, I know so little on this topic. That's what I was going to say. Tuss Beatbox says, whether James changed his mind after a debate was actually the first question I asked James ever. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, I mean, like, I think I'm, like, fairly flexible. I try to be pretty open-minded in terms of, I don't know, what do we mean by open-minded? If open-minded means, like, willingness to change, there are some beliefs I try to protect, and I don't want to change them, though. I'll give you an example. Psychologically speaking, we can see that if you believe that things are outside of your control, you might say, oh, you know what, my behavior that I do, the training I do, the education, the work experience, that doesn't, my behavior really doesn't make much of an impact on my outcomes. It's really more the government, and the big tech, Google, Facebook, or, who my parents were, blah, 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 blah. If you said instead that those things on the outside of my behavior, those things are the things that determine how well my life goes. I purposely believe that my outcomes in life are dependent on my own behavior. So this is kind of some practical psychology mixing with philosophy. And the reason is, psychologically, we know that people who believe that their outcomes in life are up to their own behavior, their own work, their own education, whatever, they do way better in virtually every domain. They're more healthy physically, mentally. They have more successful careers. Like, virtually everything you can think of goes better for them. And there's one reason. I mean, if you think you have autonomy, you have like control of your environment, we know that's psychologically healthy. And some people might say, though, well, but wait a minute, but I believe that I don't believe that's true. I think that it is true that the economy or the government or big tech, they ultimately control my outcomes. And you might say, that's what I think is the truth. And I'm not a strict evidentialist. I would say, like, I don't care if that's true. It's not what I'm going to believe. And the reason, though, I think is because when you believe your own behavior is responsible for creating your own outcomes, you're more likely to act and actually do your own behaviors that could potentially help your own outcomes. And so there are some beliefs, in that case, the belief that I would say my behavior is up to what I do. I firmly believe that. I protect that belief. I would not let evidence, I will purposely persuade myself by reading books that suggest that, because I want that belief for its practical utility in terms of my outcomes in life. Lilia just says, I feel the same way. Destiny has some real spicy takes sometimes, but he's a really solid debater. Yeah, and I think Destiny, I feel like, is one, I think he's a great debater, no doubt about it. Two, I think his views, like, my views are like, if I had to pick anybody, I would say I'd be like a combination of my views, I feel like would be fairly well explained by if you made this Frankenstein that was a cross between IP and Destiny. Those two, that's like probably largely my beliefs. But Dave Langer says, you don't have to agree with everything someone says. I don't agree with most of what Converse Contender says, but I respect him because he's respectful and makes well thought out arguments. I completely agree. Yeah, you don't have to agree with everybody says, and you might as well just let it be that you're going to disagree, and that's okay, because it's like there's nothing wrong with disagreeing. And John W. says, respect to you all. That's nice of you, John. Thank you, and same to you. John Desiderio, thank you for your, he says, I agree, James. And then, let's see. Correct me if I'm wrong, says, James, I like your reason for holding on to that, quote, belief personally, but I hope that you don't judge others based on that. Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't. The reason is, I've got like a pretty, like, life I feel like has been pretty good to me. I know that some people go through obviously way worse circumstances. So, like let's say their mental health or their physical health or whatever it is, could be like absolutely terrible. So I do recognize that, and so that's something that I would say for other people. I don't hold them to the same standard. Like I said, it's more about when I think about these things, I'm thinking about my own internal behavior as responsible for my own outcomes. Whether or not other people's own internal behavior out there is the reason for their outcomes in life, I do think that it plays a big role, and I think that oftentimes people underestimate it, but it's something that I don't forcibly, rigidly kind of force on people where I say like, no, because there's just too many things that I don't know about, like what happened in their life, and but I would say that they'd almost certainly, the research does seem to suggest though that they would actually be better off with more internal locus of controls. And internal locus of control just means if they believe that their outcomes were more a result of their behavior. And that might be hard to hear because I think a lot of people don't want to believe that, but it's just what the research says. I mean, like a lot of people, you guys talk about data. I can show you all the papers if you want to see it. So Abdul S says, can you briefly summarize your metaphysical religious beliefs, if any, and the reasons for that? Yeah, so I definitely would be a theist. Definitely would be a Christian theist. There are different arguments philosophically. You could say maybe one would be historical. So it's a cumulative case. So there's not like a single argument that I'd say like, oh, it's the moral argument. And then the arguments are, it's not that I think one thing to keep in mind is I don't think that the arguments, I wouldn't give them like a 0.9 or 0.95 or 0.99 credence, or even necessarily a 0.8 credence, but I'd give them like, let's say a 0.6 credence in terms of, let's say if I have a 0.6 probability that I assign to each of the premises, and thus I assign a 0.6 probability to the conclusion. That sounds like it matches, right? Like it, so that I might have, let's say, 5 arguments that give me a 0.6, and in terms of like each of them, I say, oh, that I give that like a 0.6 of it being a sound argument. Those together give me reasons to think like, yeah, I don't have certainty, but I think there's like reason enough to believe in a God or the Christian God. So I think the minimal facts argument is a pretty strong argument. So it's an inductive argument. I think some things that people, well, anyway, I'm not going to get into deductive versus inductive arguments, but hopefully that gives you an idea. And then thanks for your question, Abdul. But yes. So thanks so much, folks, for hanging out here. And let's see. I'm a huge fan of The Mandalorian. If you guys did not know that, it's probably best. It's probably time that you know that now. Nobody's a bigger fan of The Mandalorian than me. So do appreciate it, folks. Want to say thanks so much. Really excited. I will let you guys go, but thanks again for your huge positivity and support and kindness. Seriously, I could go on and on just about how much you guys mean. James Bond says, I'd love to see Richard Carrier in future debates if possible. Me too. That would be epic. Dessel Drace says, what happened to the debate? That was, I think we got done with it like a half hour or 45 minutes ago. So it is in this stream, Dessel Drace. You'll just have to scroll back on the little timeline. And then, trying to make sure I didn't miss any. I just love the questions. John W. says, sorry, I guess I am like an ex-smoker. I just want to hear other ideas and don't like the addiction I was on in that so-called Christian religion. Are you saying you were addicted to the Christian religion? I'm like totally said beaten and starved is what these folk would do. Huh, I don't fully know what you mean, but I do have to run, so I'm so sorry that I can't, but I appreciate you sharing that. And then Dessel Dre says, I'll debate you on minimal facts right now. I appreciate that, but I've got to rock and roll. I think if you want to debate somebody else, it's something that, one thing I highly recommend to debaters is before I do debates again, and because I owe like 3 or 4 people debates, so like Paul Pologia, I say it wrong. Apologia. Whatever your name is. Basically, Apologia. I think for years now I've owed him a debate on the minimal facts argument as well, and but I've always said I'm really sorry. I just if I do it, which I do want to do, but I want to have like plenty of time to prep, and during my PhD it's hard to run the channel and then prep for debates and then also do the PhD. like the PhD is a side project, but I appreciate the offer, and I think that there's probably other people that would be up for it. And said, Tuss Beatbox, love the talks, James. You're awesome. Thanks so much, Tuss, for being so supportive. That means a lot. Thanks, Liliaja, for being so positive and fabulous. That's nice of you. Appreciate it. And let's see. John W. says, I was a bastard and the Christian faith condemned me as my father was a pedo and his sins will visit me, so I pay for something he did. Wow, I'm seriously sorry to hear that, John. Condemned me as my father. Yeah, I totally don't, like, it's not my view that you're condemned as a result of your father's sins, and so I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that, John W. Seriously, I'm just really sorry. That is really bad. Like, I agree with you. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, and I get why you're feeling the way you do. So thanks for being honest, though. Thanks for being real. And Randolph and John W, take care as well. Thank you. I saw that. Wishing your take care as well. You're right, Dave Langer. I did promise Gwen that I would hang out with her and her sister, so I should go. But James Bond, my subject of my PhD is organizational psychology. So it's kind of like business psychology, you could say. So it's really fun. I love doing it. And but yeah, Tioga says years. Yes, Tioga, years. Okay, so thank you guys. Seriously appreciate you. I hope you have a great night. Thanks for hanging out. It's always fun. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable.